they go into the process of it, or if it's just like, aha, gameplay, and then they just leave. It's going to be a 2-hour stream, so they kind of implied it's going to be a 2-hour stream, so I don't know. But yeah, so basically they've said the new heroes, new maps, everyone gets, but I guess they're reworking the engine, and I don't know if the Overwatch 1 players will get the new engine or if they'll be playing on like some weird patchwork client. I don't know. So maybe we'll find out. And I hate to dip out on next level, but we're pretty much starting, so... Yeah, I mean, Heroes is what the game's been lacking for a while, right? At some point, they decided to start holding back Heroes for Overwatch 2, basically, so... Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long time since we had one. So, alright. But we will soon find out, I suppose, what's going on. Yeah, a few good tanks. I think they talked a lot about like redesigning the roles as well.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Overwatch 2 Developer PvP live stream. I'm your host, Matt Mr. X, and throughout the stream, I'll be joined by some awesome content creators and developers from the Overwatch team as we learn more about Overwatch.
Yeah, this is all new map footage, so this is good.
Awesome maps in action, played live. It's going to be an extremely exciting day.
Hello, Mr. X.
Aaron mentioned during the developer update, everything you see today is work in progress, but being able to see some of this stuff, day in and day out, it's truly awesome. Really excited for what the Overwatch team has to show for you guys today. So let's bring on some of my guests throughout the day. I'll be joined by the members of the Overwatch dev team. It's Associate Art Director Dion Rogers, Lead Hero Designer Jeff Goodman, and Game Director Aaron Keller.
Man, this year is so weird. Everyone's just at home.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. We've learned so
We're live streaming a reaction to a Zoom call. Everyone's just at their house.
Overwatch 2. We've learned some stuff about, PvP, with push, role passives, new heroes. You saw Sojourn at BlizzCon Line. What else has gone into the development process for Overwatch 2's PvP?
You're right. We've talked a lot about the story side.
A very important Zoom call, yes. A Zoom call which you would hope is not dropped.
That we've been working on. But the Overwatch team has also...
The focus on his webcam is ridiculous, by the way.
Making new features, new heroes.
It almost looks like a
maps,
fake faded out background.
Today. And we've also been looking at the way PvP is played.
That's nuts.
It's changed over time on the live game. And we'll talk about a lot of the changes that we want to be making and that we're currently making to PvP.
This is good news.
There's one in particular that I want to highlight.
5v5?
Right
I saw some rumors about 5v5.
And I think it has a big impact on the way the entire team approaches
instead of
PvP
6v6
on Overwatch 2. And it's also something that we're all
really they're visually redesigning some of the characters.
Overwatch,
so I think that's what they're doing.
Played with 2 teams of 6 players.
Oh, 5v5's real.
2
the leaks were real.
Played with 2 teams of 5 players.
It's real.
Consisting of 2 support, 2 DPS,
and 1 tank.
And 1 tank.
That fixes queue problems. Because tanks queue at like way faster than everything else.
So we still have a breakdown across the board. It's not completely open. So 1 tank, 2 DPS, 2 supports. What led you guys down the road to make this change?
There are a lot of reasons.
They're probably gonna have to redesign a bunch of the maps, though.
As I said earlier, Overwatch has changed.
That's interesting.
Over time. We've gone from having no hero limits at all in the game before launch. You could pick 6 Winstons.
Yeah, at launch the 6v6 tracers were that was a strange
time.
Up
introducing a roll lock.
Yeah, I mean, presumably they're gonna have to redesign every tank and like all the maps.
This is the next step in the way that Overwatch.
You gotta love the echo.
If you think about it, there is a lot going on in an Overwatch map. It is incredibly fast-paced, and we have always tried to make
like
our
the last time they talked about stuff
very
click
understandable.
They said that
even with all of
they
the
were going to
work that we put
focus
into that,
on making the
sometimes it's
tanks
just
more fun to
hard
play
track
and
what
more
11 other
brawly.
players are doing on the battlefield. Removing 2 of those simplifies everything, and it allows players to understand
Basically turning
everything
into
around
more
them
of
and to
a
be able to make
Roadhog or
better
Zarya
choices
playstyle
because
or a
of it.
D.Va playstyle, rather than like
This
stand
change
in a
obviously
corner
has
with a
a
shield.
really big impact on tanks. And we will get into some of the changes that we're making to tanks and
yeah,
some
obviously
of the other,
you're gonna
some
have
of the
to.
other roles in a bit. But tanks can be problematic. They're a DPS hero is simple. They're shooting. But a tank has
I love standing in a
abilities
corner with a
that
shield.
can be noisy, or when stacked with other tanks,
Whoa.
can cause problems for other teams to try to
So that's a new
overcome and
map.
counter. Like, and a great example of that is 2 main tanks on the field. Sometimes that can be very
The UI is
aggressive
so much
to
cleaner,
another
by the
team.
way.
I think with five players out there is a greater chance of certain people.
The ability to
hurt,
control
whether
Reinhardt
that's the
while he's
tank on the
charging
team
like
or
that
some
is
of the
kind of
DPS.
ridiculous.
There's just one less player on the other team that you need to take care of, and each
Just
player now has the
full
opportunity
control
to have a larger individual impact on their own team. And we've tried.
Yeah, Overwatch has a
different
lot of clutter
versions of this.
already.
Internally, we've
So
tried.
they don't need a cluttered UI as
4v4
well.
format. We've tried 3 DPS, 2 support, 1 tank format. We even early on in Overwatch development, we tried a 7v7 format of the game. And we always had
that would have been
some problems
even
with
more
them.
chaotic.
And this is the sort of thing that our lead hero designer Jeff Goodman has really run with, and I think he probably has a little more he can say about it.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that they're starting off with like systems changes and stuff.
That was,
Right.
that was literally one playtest. And it was
That
like
was one playtest, and we swore we would never do it again.
almost in the middle of that playtest.
never to be spoken about again.
Tried
Yeah,
7v7
I
just
assume
one
that,
time.
Obviously,
That's funny.
changes to the tank role, but I assume there will be kind of like holistic changes overall, right? I think just changing the tanks, you probably need to rework some of the other stuff that goes on.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is a kind of change.
Yeah, healing output
so,
probably needs to change then too, right?
Impacts like
Because if you have the same amount of healing and one less
that's the
tank,
thing about sort of hero design and hero
then the
balance is,
DPS
like,
just never die.
it's sort of easy in some sense. Honestly, it's easy, but
It's just
sort of
players
easier
screaming and
to
hitting
make sort of a
everything.
single
Yeah,
hero
Overwatch
change
can
and,
already
you know,
feel like that. I
maybe
can't
even, like, a
imagine
hero rework like they've done in
7v7.
the past. But to change something so fundamental as, you know, there's only one tank allowed, really kind of cascades into a lot
Man,
of
I feel bad.
questions
The map
and-
team
and,
probably had to redesign every
problems
map,
that demand
or the
answers.
maps are gonna
So,
suck.
I mean, the obvious thing that probably comes up in people's mind probably immediately when we say this is, how does Roadhog work in a world where you could pick Reinhardt instead? Like, how is that as an equivalent pick? So that's sort of our first question when we first were doing it too. Like, we liked this 5v5 thing. It was super fun when we playtested it.
Some
had a lot
maps
of
suck
promise,
already.
But,
Yeah, they already
okay, we have to
announced they're
solve a lot of
removing
problems if we go this
2CP
way. So that's
entirely.
sort of
So
why it sort of has led to this.
all of the
larger
worst
set
maps
of
in the
changes,
game
and there's a lot
will
of
be
other stuff
going
to talk about
away
as well.
soon.
But it definitely.
Well, soon, whenever
cascades,
Overwatch 2
for
comes
example,
out.
Healing, you can kind of focus on one tank now, and the tanks are even beefier than they are on live. The individual tanks, because this is one of them. So we're thinking, well, is it too good to just play like 2 main healers and dump healing in your tank, and is it too hard to kill now? And maybe healing is too good now. And
Then you gotta
know,
buff
it's just-
damage.
But this is the time to do it. This is what we wanted to do with Overwatch 2, is look at core things like this and make sure that where we want them to be.
They said that the number one thing they're
I was
trying to
gonna
do
say,
is
like,
bring it back to
you
a
know,
shooter.
I'm not a designer, but I think
Which
that,
makes
like,
me
this
happy,
is the
'cause
first real
that's-
opportunity you guys have had.
that's the
to
Overwatch I fell in love with.
reset. Like, you couldn't just do this
Right.
on the live game, right?
That's the
I
Overwatch.
think that's kind of
I think most people fell in love with.
What I assume, right, is that this is like a holistic.
It
look
pretty
at the
much
game
drew
overall,
mostly
and
FPS
changes
players
that you
right
couldn't do
away, and
online
then
because there's just so
most of them left as
Exactly.
the game
And
became
like I said,
less
there's other changes
shooter.
that go along with this as well, that are also equally impactful. So it's sort of like we just like shook the ground underneath the game like really heavily, and like all the pieces are kind of in disarray a little bit. So some of the heroes won't even be playable really by our playtesters here, because they're either heroes we're already kind of looking at heavily, or we plan on looking at heavily, so it's kind of not worth showing them in this context, or ones that we haven't addressed yet, things like that. So that just sort of gives you context of like how big this kind of change is.
Well,
so I'm guessing we won't see any new heroes today. Then
I'm sure the fans want to see it live after getting all this like info.
If they're reworking every single hero in the game to balance with 5v5.
Dion, what kind of map is this?
New York is a hybrid.
Maybe
so
Sojourn is a hero they tease, so we'll probably see more of her.
For players to battle over. The world building team had a great time just creating this Overwatch depiction of New York. Tons of neat details and fun Easter eggs for the players to find. So I think it should be fun to take a look at this.
Yeah, no.
This New York map
when you guys
looks clean.
showed this at BlizzCon Line.
Sorry, let's make sure my phone's silent,
obviously
so
from
it doesn't
New York,
ring
myself
midstream.
would love to see.
I forgot to check before.
Over, some of the adjustments that you guys have made to it here in Overwatch 2. Just a beautiful map. I have to imagine this is one of the locales that you guys have been dying to do for a while.
We've been wanting to. There's a lot of people on the team.
Oh, cool! The subway is open. That looks like
there. So it's always
a
been
lot of the subway is
Overwatch
open.
2 felt like the right time to do it.
That feels like
no
a lot of
Easter
places to
eggs,
check.
No, you know, on some of these
easy
so
sneaking.
Yeah. You know, get some love at the beginning, but yeah, this will be our first real look at 5v5. I've had the opportunity to like kind of watch some games like as they've kind of tested it out. It still keeps that Overwatch, you know, fast-paced feel, but it doesn't have like the, you know, kind of the clumped up chaos that you sometimes see of live. I think it kind of speaks to really what you were pointing to, Jeff, is that,
I kind of hate
when
that
you have,
font
you
that
know,
they're
that one
using.
less tank in the equation, you can actually make the tanks more aggressive and more offensive. But it's also just kind of easier for the viewer and just
Can't wait to feel trapped in the subway.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll see probably a
Just
lot
don't
of
go
play
in the
here.
subway.
One of the biggest things you'll notice.
It didn't look like the objective
there's
was
less
in there.
Protection coming from tank players just to directly block bullets for their team. Typically, we'll find a lot more player on the map corners, map angles.
It wasn't bothering me until I started reading like the main gray blurb that was all caps and it looked weird.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is great.
So it kind of, you know, that was one of the first things that came out of our original playtesting, and we were just like,
you gotta love
these
player names.
Like I mentioned,
Sour Witch.
You know, as a designer, you sort of have to look
curly
past
mustache,
the immediate problems in front of you, and like, okay, we can fix those. Like, I think we can address, you know, some of the like tank imbalances and healing.
Deadly
and
Kitten.
all kinds of stuff, but at the heart of this, which is really cool, and so that's really what we
Quirky Turtle. Yep. Robot Angel.
I think something that's really interesting about.
I'm assuming these are all devs.
The gameplay is more fluid than it was before. A lot of times in Overwatch, you get these really hard battle lines that get drawn between the two teams.
So what do we have? Right away, Winston has an extra ability
incoming.
What's going on? Why does he have 3?
Move around a little bit more. And
it's your boy Frosty Feet.
A lot of times, the chokes aren't as hard of a space.
Really engaging.
Through. There's still a
watching
choke in
the
the map,
Winston
and you
just
still have to work at it. But there can be a lot more
and hit his head
like,
on the
pushing
ceiling.
through and pulling back on the choke, and it's something that I'm like personally really excited about.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
he has 2 Fire Strike charges.
The 5v5 move affected map design.
Which I think they talked about
it
before as well.
A huge impact on
just the double Fire Strike.
Different, speaking about like
you could just kill a DPS character,
right? Creating more flanking routes, more opportunity for
if they didn't change the damage, you could just Fire Strike kill a DPS character.
Yeah, there's a lot more opportunity for players to do that.
This
but
poor Winston's been discorded the whole game.
When you go for a flank, you're not leaving 5 players.
Just like a real game, I
4
suppose.
Players behind, and so you kind of have to be weighing.
Why? No, okay, he deserves
the game
it.
Is just as strategic as it
Don't
was
follow
before,
Reaper in there.
if not more so because of the individual
what are you doing?
ability for
you have a
players
bubble.
to have such a large
Go in the
impact
bubble
on the match. I think for map design, we've always been really careful to make spaces that feel good just for one hero. And sometimes we might favor particular heroes.
Mercy looks really strange.
But because of that, because we're able to make a space.
I'm not sure how I
that
feel about the
feels
Mercy
good for Reaper,
Mercy
a space that feels
visuals.
good for Pharah. I think that we'll still be able to play 5v5.
Oh, interesting. There's a
all of
driver on the
original
payload.
catalog
That's
of
new.
Overwatch maps as well.
Right.
That is a awesome payload, Dion, by the way.
You know, we've always in the artwork of the maps, we've always placed what we consider cover objects. it just feels now with the
Ooh,
5v5,
this is
players
kind of a
will
cool
take
little piece of
advantage
cover
that
on this
more.
map.
You know, even the previous maps we planned cover objects to help protect players.
Gamers are great at
Now
driving.
with 5v5, they're even more effective. These artistic choices.
Hey, Genji stopped
It's
burning.
such a great point too, because we have started
Genji is
placing a
missing.
little bit more cover in our maps. And if you go back to some of the old maps, like if you look at King's Row,
This
that
monkey
middle
is
section,
getting
that
rolled.
street section of King's Row, there's one piece of cover.
Quirky Turtle
In
is
that
always
entire
about to die.
section,
Yes.
it's just corners of buildings is what you're using.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think you can kind of see it here.
Yeah,
even
lots of
with,
little, like
stuff
even like that little room.
I know the taxis here
That
in the
side room.
streets. You know, you have the little kind of windows, the pillar to hide behind in the middle.
This is a new
There's
game
a
mode,
route
I
through
think,
the
as well.
subway.
Or is
There's
this just a
many
payload
different
map?
kind of angles.
I think this
you
might
can
just be a
take.
payload map, and the UI is
Something
just
we
different.
saw at BlizzCon Line was the 2 fire strike, charge, cancel Reinhardt. I noticed
The
something
new
before, Jeff, when we were
appearance
on
of the
with
Reaper
Winston.
shotguns makes me
my
happy.
Winston
I
on
was gonna mention
live, not able to shoot at range. Can you
Right.
explain that to us a little bit?
Transcendence?
So yeah,
Kinda
I
looks
picked
just
up
like
on that.
Pete.
So we were first watching.
Not gonna
yesterday.
lie.
This
Not
is an
gonna
example
lie.
of, some of the tank
They tried to
changes
clean up the UI, but they just made
versus 5v5,
Transcendence
but also
look pretty
a larger
nasty.
Change. We're talking about making tanks a lot more aggressive, be able to be a little more hybridy on the damage side and less just raw protection. So on Winston's side, he's ulting right now. Unfortunately, you can't see it, but he can't do it while he's ulting. But his alternate fire there, which he's doing right now, there it is. You can
Oh,
charge
he is
up,
an
like,
alt
a condensed
fire.
blast of lightning from his gun.
That's
and
what
fire
that
it off
other
as a
ability
single
is.
Sort of like blast attack at longer range.
So he is like a.
And so he
Winston
actually-
has a
the
ranged
charge up is
DPS
kinda worth it
ability.
for him because you could do it while you're leaping, and so there's like
Ooh, that was actually a good
theoretically more
block.
burst combos you can do where you're jumping on top of somebody, charging up in the air, and burst, release it right before you land.
Yeah,
on them, and you
Winston
can stop
already
damage
kinda
too,
nukes you if
and
he
can
lands
shotgun
on
or
you.
do a quick melee combo. There's a lot more interesting things. On top of the fact that with some players know a lot of times you're
Cool, they gave him a
shock
combo
somebody, they're
ability.
getting away, you think you can finish him, and they just fair abuse away, or somebody just barely gets away. You get that extra.
Would have liked to see him use it,
alternate
but
fire shot to try to take him out on the way. And
Oh, well.
it's actually interesting playing against him now because you now are cognizant of that. So sometimes you're leaving a little earlier, like, well, I'm going to get
Zen
blasted
got a
probably if
pick,
I just
feels
run
bad,
away,
man,
so,
for the
I
attacking
have to be able
team.
to survive that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the decisions.
Bit like
when
Team
some players
Fortress.
face. It's like, okay, I've jumped on this.
Yeah,
player,
yeah, I was
I've
gonna
gotten
say, Overwatch
weak.
basically
I
is
can
Team
either
Fortress
now
3,
get out
so-
of my bubble and try to
A lot of
finish
ways.
them off, or just kind of hope a teammate
They
does.
even
But
just
now
stole the
giving
game
him-
modes.
I think it kind
for
of
the
goes
most
back
part.
to more like that player, agency that you were talking about, being able to kind
That
of
was-
take over the game.
That was
being able to
actually.
finish it off.
Ooh, the nano boosted double
Ryan,
fire strike.
This will never
just
get
disgusting.
old. Just seeing Reinhardt nano boosted, just swinging. I'm sure it makes the fans out there happy that I know that was a
You were
dragon
eliminated
blade
by
against
thing
the
in
Genji
gray
he
is
was able to take
interesting,
out
too.
is, it's kind of the bane of existence of a lot of people. But this
Yeah.
looks like, I guess, the second checkpoint, right? So
Ooh, that window's
the
open.
interior.
Of Grand Central
I don't think
Station.
Overwatch has any open windows like that.
This is awesome. So it goes in,
That's
so the
interesting.
payload kind of goes
Or I
inside
can, like,
of
sit
the
on that ledge.
station and kind of curves around, I guess.
And you can see the payload is driven by an Omnic, who is
Yeah.
I love having someone
Easter
on the
egg to our
payload like
production
an actual player.
production director on the team. Our executive producer.
So he got a name.
Yes, Chaco.
He's gonna be a fan favorite. Oh,
Chaco. Oh, it's on his uniform
I thought it
even.
was like an unofficial name. Like, oh yeah.
No, his
Chaco.
his
No,
canonical
he's
name
got
is
the
literally
suit.
Chaco.
Our executive producer said he's helped us out a lot, and it was only fitting
Oh, it's the name of the. That's funny.
that we.
He's lived in New
honor
York
him.
as well,
Yeah.
so he helped out a lot on this map.
So
And we have countless debates about the right type of pizza with him as well.
yes, right.
Well, yeah, I mean, New York style pizza is the dominant pizza. I believe it's the water, but
There
that is
comes the
probably
pee
for a
again.
different stream.
Yeah, do you really
I know
wanna get into this?
Yeah,
my
that
thoughts on
Transcendence
the
is,
water in New York creating the better pizza dough. You also notice, at least I noticed, the new sounds, especially when like Ash
yeah.
shoots.
Yeah, the
that
sounds
is
sound
something
great.
that, it was discussed at BlizzCon Line.
This
but I
fair
think
is
it's
just
different to
walking.
kinda see
Yeah,
it
pretty
in
much.
action and also to see all of the other players. At
They
the same time
talked-
with those audio changes.
At BlizzCon, they
It just
talked
makes
a
the
lot
game
about
feel even
reworking the
more
sound engine.
realistic.
Yeah, the sound
Everything sounds
can
more
get
punchy.
really punchy, and it just feels good. To
Like,
hold
Soldier
the trigger
sounds
down
way
with different
good.
Heroes. But you also get more information from it. So we've spent a lot of time not just developing what these sounds are, but how they play in different environments. So we've kind of upgraded the entire sound system.
I might play
the game.
Soldier
So
just to hear that
let's say
rifle, I'm not gonna lie.
that Ash is in a side room firing from that room, you really kind of understand where they're at and what type of environment that they're in better than
Frosty
you did
Feet's
before,
gotta put
and then
in
you
work.
can kind of take that information and make different decisions.
Winston got a kill with his right
additional
click.
decisions because of it.
All right, so we got a map complete from the offense here. Not bad. Not bad in their first.
So this is a payload map, it
The
looks
players
like.
are so competitive. I have to say this to the stream. That we were like, yeah, this is fun. Like, everybody have a great time. And then everyone's like, put your SR in the chat. We're going to make balanced teams.
Put your
Like,
SR
who's
in the
playing
chat.
what? It's just, I feel like it's just the nature of Overwatch, right? Like, it always starts off, yeah, let's play for fun. And then, you know, you lose a game. And you're like, all right.
It's
like,
better for
all right,
competitive,
everybody
yeah.
pick it up. Like, let's change things.
It's like that meme when you're playing, relaxing in your chair, and then you lose, and you lean
Our
forward,
boy
get a little
Choco.
more- get the game winning posture.
It's those
The
nights
most
of ranked
useless
where you lose like 2 and you're like
fire
you
truck
win
driver
one,
of
and
all
you're like, "Oh, I
time."
play to lose, and then you
Because
lose
he
a
needs
few more,
random
and the next
people
thing
to
you know,
stand
you wake
around
up,
him
like,
before he'll
"Oh, I
drive."
do that." Like 500 SR down the drain. That's
Yeah.
so this will be an opportunity to see like Roadhog has a solo tank.
Yeah.
For the
Wonder what they
offensive
did
side
to
here.
Roadhog so far.
I feel like he's just gonna be even on live, right? He just takes up so much space, Jeff. Like, and he takes up space not with a shield, but
Oh,
like,
never
just his
mind.
body. As I say that, we have a Zarya.
Never
swap,
mind,
but,
we don't get to find out.
Talk to me a little bit about like the thoughts on how like the Roadhogs of the world, Divas, even
Sure.
Zarya. I know there's some interesting stuff with Zarya as a solo tank.
Yeah, so like I said before, a lot of this is still work in progress. We're still
Yeah.
sort of addressing hero by hero. But like because once we started,
Does she have more
going to one
bubbles?
tank,
Yeah,
so
she has
the
4
question is,
bubbles.
kinda
She has 2 of
what
each,
direction
looks
are we
like.
pushing tanks now? We're trying to make Roadhog, a lot more static defensively and have, big.
Gotta love that
barriers between
0
the defensive
energy
team.
pressure
Or
forward.
We want more the opposite. We like to take the Reinhardts and the Rissas and Sigmas and actually give them some more aggression and be a little more like Roadhog and Diva. And so we definitely opted for that
Pushing the
latter
shield
route after
down.
playing because it's like
This Zarya's higher
not
SR
only
than
is
I
it
am, I
more
guarantee
fun
you.
to have that kind of extra speed and aggression, but a lot of what people had a lot of comments on in the past.
Her
when the
tracking
metas
is
get
actually
too
really good.
full of barriers and shields, and honestly, even sometimes when there's just the one Orisa blocking you with
Oh,
just,
that
like,
double
chain shields,
bubble
and
lets
it's
you
just
pressure
people
so
had comments
far.
like, oh, I feel like I'm shooting shields all the time, like we were definitely hearing all that, and you could see some of the balance changes we made in the past in the live game. Have been trying to address this, but once we
That's cool,
got
it
into
even
this
starts the
situation, we're like,
siren
oh,
when the
this is sort
payload
of an
comes out.
opportunity actually here to reduce a lot of these
I missed
effects.
that the first
And
round.
We still want them to be there and present and be important, and you can still block huge abilities. They still have a decent amount of health, but less than they had before. But then in response to that, you can see Reiner here. He hit the wall right there. He didn't cancel it, but you can cancel your charge, and you can get two fire strikes. So the canceling charge is one of those like sneaky things that seems like to some people
Canceling
might be kind of a minor
charge
change,
looks
but
insane.
It almost like completely changes how he plays a lot of ways. It's actually really fun because you can. It has a really fast recovery when you cancel, so you can like charge up to your group
Zarya
and then
catching
cancel
that-
and immediately ult and
that
just like
fire
knock everyone
strike.
down. So the fact that you can even do that is its own now like sort of mini game that people play where you can kind of bluff with it. If people know you have your ult or think you have your ult, you can just charge right at them, and they're trying not to get stunned. Like they don't want to fight you necessarily like normally because they don't want to.
That makes Reinhardt an even better echo
people
swap.
running for cover, and you didn't even have it, or you save it or something. So, and it also just allows him to
Aw, should've pinned,
get in
but-
there and be more aggressive without sacrificing his health bar.
Yeah, it just sounds like another change, almost like how you kind of mentioned, like stuff like that Winston combo, kind of, as you're. As
Yeah,
you're
it's gonna
playing
be
and
really hard to
testing
balance.
and seeing all these different things, like. Yeah, where the Winston
shield
combo,
tanks.
you can load up that secondary fire, come
The
like,
shields
get some
are
jump
so
damage,
strong.
land on somebody, take them out.
Like, how do you balance
Now
a
you kind of have
Risa?
like this like little meta game with like Reinhardt play, right? Where,
I guess her
you
shield
kinda
has
have,
to
like,
be
this
way
another
less
layer
good.
of canceling the charge,
But-
being able to. I remember there was one clip I think from BlizzCon Online and just like a trailer where he charges towards a team, cancels, and then shatters them all.
Yeah.
Being able to make plays like that just seems so sick.
He's
And
also got the ability to
This new Widow
control
rifle
his
is
charge
pretty sick,
more.
I'm not
so you
gonna
can
lie.
actually turn
right.
around corners more.
Oh yeah.
So the charge, while you can cancel, it's also more aggressive and it's more versatile. I think something else that's really interesting, if you look at if people have noticed,
I like
what's
the
happening with
headshot
Zarya,
is
is she has 2 charges to her.
You notice
button.
the arrow is just a different color
sheer
now.
charges. is the trick. It's actually what we playtested in for the April Fool's patch. So as people probably noted, like, you know, some of those changes were a lot.
I really like the UI changes.
Permanently flying Sigma, but you know, there were some changes we threw in there. I was like, let's see how people react to this. I'm curious what people think. Like, maybe this is something we can try. And the Zarya bubbles is one of those things. So,
Aaron, you know,
it's something
I was,
we just recently kind of put in,
right?
Oh yeah.
It took me a while to get used to the new changes, but once I really dug in and settled with these changes, I realized it's how I always wanted to play Reinhardt this way, basically.
That's good.
You know,
that's what you want.
And
we were joking about that
like
the
you
other
kind of
day,
have
where,
to balance the
even,
tanks so that someone
like,
wants to play them.
Yeah, like the canceling the charge just feels so right.
Because right now it takes like
but you're so like trained
4
to kind
times
of how it is,
longer to
like, where you're
QS
just charging
DPS
into
than
walls.
tanks.
Right.
That I
And
was
like
like
double
I was like,
for
I don't have to do this anymore.
heals.
Like I can just go. Like it's such like a great quality of life change.
Yeah, something else
Torb.
I think that's really interesting here is this fight's been
We
going
got
on
a
for a while.
Torb in the
Neither
show
tank has
match.
fallen. And the support had been doing such a good job at keeping the tanks up because there's only one of them that they have to actually focus on, and the fights feel really good.
Yeah,
being
Ryan
the
takes up a
tank player now.
ton of
Like,
space,
the amount
it
of
feels
times
like.
you get into this situation where
As a
it
sniper
feels
player,
hopeless,
less
you're low
tanks.
on health,
Oh, makes me
and
happy.
There's a bunch of the enemy
Makes
players
me
focusing on
happy.
you, and you're able to still come out of it.
A world where
it
the
feels
Hanzo,
so incredibly good, and you feel
that
really
Hanzo
powerful.
just absolutely
it's,
rolled.
I think that has to be something that you guys have kind
It
of.
was like a
feedback
pre-fire
that
shot
a
from the
support
heavens.
Point of view, you're able to dump resources into just one tank, and that also probably frees you up to do a little bit of other stuff.
These teams
right?
are not
Where
balanced, it
the
feels
Batiste
like.
can do a little bit more damage. You know, as Zen, you can kind of orb the tank and then focus on the
Feels
damage.
like Team 2,
that,
red
probably has to
team's
be way easier
kinda
with supports now.
stacked.
For sure. Yeah, we got a lot of feedback from support players. It's a lot easier to focus, and a lot of times you almost have this like communication between the two support players, and you know, you have like Mercy's like, I'm just going to be, you know, on tank duty and just be on tank base.
Demonstration only,
like that, just to spot heal.
All I'm saying is red team kind of stomping.
But there's other strats. Like sometimes we've seen people go too big heal, you know, main healers essentially, and try to just focus so hard on their tank that even with like Discord orb on them, it's just hard to kill them. So that's going to be an interesting strat too. So I don't even sure like what the quote-unquote meta is entirely yet, especially because we're changing things all the time. I guess it's pretty hard for them to settle, but
yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
This Zen UI is
the Lucio is just harassing on a
looks
flank.
really cool. This is something obviously that's incredibly new. I think on live, like it's kind of displayed on the right.
Yeah,
we're
there's
generally looking through this.
go ahead. Sorry, Jeff.
I was saying we're generally looking at anywhere we can improve hero-specific UI stuff like this, and we felt like this could use, you know, a big update and be a lot more readable.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
one
the
of things I'm most
glowy
excited
icon
about
for
with
the
this
Transcendence
UI
and Discord
is
as
it's
opposed
not just
to
on Zen, but it's on Mercy also.
That's
You see
actually
the
awesome.
portrait
It looks
of
way better.
of the player that you're healing. And so it's just a lot easier to kind of figure out.
Because
who
on
you've
live,
got, instead of just
it's
using
really hard
something
to
like
see.
a nameplate, you know. And
Yeah, and it's not off to the side, right? It's like center screen, so you're
Yep.
able to still kind of focus down the middle.
yeah, and you can see his Discord is down there as well. So you have like Harmony and Discord orbs are kind of both shown on each side of the ult at the bottom of the screen.
the Zen finally got the Lucio.
We have an overtime.
He's
here.
been trying to
I
focus
can
his
imagine the
Lucio for like
comms
2
are,
minutes.
Everybody's starting to get pretty sweaty now. We get towards the end of the map. So this has really been. I gotta say for you guys probably this is probably awesome to see, like the game actually being. it's one thing I think to
Immortality
play, but now to,
feels
like,
still
observe
here.
and be
Feels
able to
bad, man.
watch, and obviously, you know, the people you guys work with every day. This has to be pretty awesome.
Feels bad, man.
Yeah, it definitely is. We've been playing it.
That
in this
Reinhardt
state for a
steering his
long time,
charge
too,
is
and
the craziest thing.
It's always so tough to play.
I
a
know
game
they
a
showed that
certain way
before, but it
at
looks
work,
so
and
good.
then go home and it operates in a totally different way, and you're playing with people online, and you can't help but think like, if only you knew
Right.
what I was playing, you know, every
Right.
day.
Team
And
2
so
wins,
it
no
feels
surprises,
really
yeah.
good to have that out in front of our community, so they can kind of see what we've been doing.
There's actually a ton of like small changes in here too. Like I'm curious if people picked up on after one game. Like one example of a small change that actually we may end up removing, but it's in this build right now, is because we've had it for a while now, but we just had reduced discussion. Maybe we want to pull it again. Is we've actually slowed the movement acceleration rate of everybody in the game just very slightly.
Interesting.
And the reason for that was to try to create a little more sort of prediction element to shooting an enemy, as opposed to like you can kind of ADA.
Yeah, Overwatch is mid-air
turn
control
so
is
fast
even insane.
that it was really
I don't know
hard
how
to
I
read a
like the
shot,
slowing
or,
though.
Sometimes it felt like you're guessing a little bit on which direction they're going to go. So we tried to like just notch it down just a little bit, so you can't really feel it as much in first person, but it's kind of one of the subtle things. But after sitting with it for
it's
a while,
one of those
just,
things
I think
that
it was like last week or earlier.
If they do it by a little
started bringing
bit, you
up
might
Twitter,
not
like, do we want
notice.
to keep this? Actually, this has been around for a while. Is everyone still happy with this? So that's just
This
an example
is very
of like the
controversial.
core.
Like among the design team, there's a lot of back and forth on this one.
That's interesting.
But I think what
but it's cool
whether or
that they're
not
checking
you see a
everything
change like that in the game. I think what it
I love that
speaks
they're.
to is the amount.
That's
of
why there's an
systems and how
Overwatch 2,
deep
right?
We're looking
Is
at,
they're
like,
willing
the
to change
entire
literally
experience of
everything.
PvP in the game.
And I think
seems like no.
if
no
you're
stone
gonna
on
have a
PvP
sequel, that's
being
kind of
left,
what you
like,
have to do.
Untouched, right? Where you're able to
Just
kind
be
of
willing
go
to change
under
everything.
kind of every rock, see what you guys want to do. I want to bring somebody in from the community real quick. I can welcome in Stylosa.
Hey!
What'd you think? First looks, what'd you think, man?
The Overwatch
I'll be
YouTuber.
honest, I was a little bit skeptical when I first heard about 5v5.
Yeah.
Ripped to the off tanks kind of thing. But I don't know. Based off watching that first map there on New York, I don't know. It looks quite spicy. This does. Could be quite good.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. Like, as somebody who I will wait in the DPS queue.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
as long as I gotta wait.
It makes me
but
happy
now,
as a
like, seeing the
DPS
tanks
player.
and seeing how aggressive you can play and push the pace.
It just means the
I'm-
queue times
I'm
will be
excited,
faster. If tanks are
be
more
able
fun to
kind
play
of,
and there's one less
dive
of them.
into the tank role, and also when I'm support, to throw a few heals on my tank and then start pumping out some damage.
Yeah, I mean, well, super buff tanks, you're just going to go in, right? This is, it's always been
That's
the
how
dumb
I'm
thing
going.
when you're playing Reinhardt, right? You don't want to charge in most of the time, but now it's like, yeah, just go in.
Yeah, now.
It is funny
now-
they
now
made that.
I'm going full throttle. I'm charging back in. We can bring.
Or are we
bring,
watching
Aaron and
highlights
Jeff
from the
back in.
game? That's funny.
As our next map's going to be a game mode that we saw at BlizzCon in 2018. It seems.
Oh,
like
the
a
new game
year
mode.
ago, is a push. How has the game mode changed since we last saw it?
Push is like a tug of war
We
mode
haven't
with
made
the payload,
a lot
I
of
think.
changes to the mode itself, at least as far as like the big rules go for it. But we've continued developing for it, so we have more.
Yeah, this
than
is the
one
first map
push
they showed it on.
in development, and I think we have more than one that we'll even be looking at today. So we're really committed to the mode.
Oh, it's not a payload; it's a
We
robot.
have a
That's
lot
right.
of fun playing this thing. I think the interesting thing about
He
push
just
to me
walks
is
back and forth.
from the outside, it sort of looks like it's a riff on payload, but there's something about having this robot move back and forth in the map that makes this very special. I almost think of push more as a moving control point or a match of
Lock
control
animation.
more than a
Work in
match of
progress. Work in
payload.
progress.
And you'll kind of see it. The mode can be really flanky. So there's a lot of other
Good.
heroes in here that I think can get play in push, and a lot of that has to do with just the bi-directional nature of that robot in the map, and also because of how quickly
Flanky,
it
good,
moves.
good.
Yeah, no, if
This
you've
is
never seen
good.
push before, there's a robot in the middle. Both teams will come out and kind of fight for it, and then once you get control, you can start pushing your barricade towards the
Push
main
is cool
spawn.
because it solves the Overwatch problem
Silosa,
of
you played
first
it.
team
Yeah, no,
to
yeah,
defend
BlizzCon.
just wins.
How'd you find it then?
I mean, it seems like such a long time ago when I played this at BlizzCon. Yeah, it was pretty hectic.
I mean, it was 2
I
years
will say,
ago,
Though,
so.
The teams were horrendously unbalanced at BlizzCon. And I mean, I think I had like Siegel, XQC, Fran, and me were playing against random people. It was a massacre. I'll be honest, I was just AFK. It didn't really matter. But yeah, it was... I can't wait to see it. I just... Hey, any Overwatch 2 news, give it me. I'll consume that stuff. Just give it me.
How do you
Seems
guys
like
think
we're
it
getting
feels
a lot.
now, in 5v5? Because the last time we saw push at BlizzCon, the PvP was 6-on-6. Does it play any different, you guys feel, especially on Toronto?
a little bit. So push has always been maybe our most hectic mode, or our most dynamic game mode. And
more
part of
hectic
the
than
reason for that is the
Control?
way these maps are designed.
I don't know.
Is
I doubt it,
we have a very sort of like
but maybe.
wavy path that the robot travels on.
But I like the
objective is
chaotic
kind of
game
always moving
modes,
back and
so-
forth. And then we have
I've
a lot
always
of
said
very
if I could
direct
only
routes
queue for
across
King of the
map
Hill, I
that the
would.
players can take, and because of that, it allows players to take a lot of shortcuts, circle around the enemy team, and it creates a lot of these flanking opportunities. With 5 players, there's just one less person you kind of have to kind of keep
track
in,
of.
in your mind's focus and kind of like worrying about where they're going to show up at any time. And so it's settled down a little bit. I still think it has that dynamic nature that we've always loved about push. It's just a little
Sup,
bit
Hero
easier
Commander?
to kind of understand.
Hello, hello.
Fast paced. I think that's
Yes.
that's kind of the way I would put it. Like you have a lot of the buildings you can go through, different types of routes you can take. I'm excited. Let's jump into map number 2. This will be Toronto. This will be push.
Okay,
This
we've
is
seen
the
this
that
map
we actually
before.
saw back at BlizzCon. We all had a chance to play. It was awesome. Then I'm excited to see some of the flanking characters. You can kind of get like an overhead view of the map now and see your tracers, your Genjis on this type of map.
Reaper is the one to watch for, I think.
Has Reaper been tearing it up?
Yeah, it's really.
So
really
is
Sits
this
in
map the
small
same as it
rooms,
was
huh?
back at BlizzCon? Or has there been any alterations to it?
I wonder how
It's virtually the
if
same.
the push
yeah.
length has changed.
When we had the map at BlizzCon,
or
it's
what?
it was definitely a work in progress, and it's still a work in progress now. But we've had the opportunity to add additional polish and art resources into the map since then.
All the maps just look so good.
Yeah.
I
One thing
I
you
know
can
I
say
see
about
Stamos' face
Overwatch
when we do the fly
is
through, and he's just
it's
like
so
smiling.
pretty.
He's just like so giddy.
It's so
oh,
pretty.
it's like
the art
it's so
style,
fun,
the map
but
design.
I feel like
the hero
Push is
design
going to
is
add
just
a different
so-
type of
so good.
element to the game that like.
I guess we're not
Escort
starting,
in
by the way.
hybrid, like you mentioned,
Guess
like
we're
the
just-
payload-oriented maps, and I think
Any
Push kind of plays
waiters?
like that a little bit. But there's so much more movement, I feel like, than both of those, and just you take so many different fights all over the map. And I also love the fact that you just can't really tie on this.
Yeah, so
I
this
think,
stream is
one of the
supposed to be
things,
about 2 hours.
like about Assault.
This
is that
Overwatch
you can,
stream?
you have like these
So,
like, long like battles.
if
and
they're
then
on
it's a draw, and you're
schedule,
just like,
then
oh,
I'll
like,
end up
like,
starting
maybe-
produce
maybe-
at the
maybe
same
okay,
time
take
I
a
normally
loss there,
would.
You know, but like
That's the plan.
This you definitely get a winner.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like game modes where the actual objective and the mechanics help pace out the speed of gameplay. And it was really hard for us to do that with 2CP. You can have incredibly long matches.
I'm so
in
happy
2CP,
2CP
and
is dead.
sometimes like a really quick blowout.
2CP leaving
and
is...
it just came down to
Yeah,
what
the
two
cleaner
teams
UI,
were doing,
and I think
the game mode
they've
itself
made an effort
wasn't
to
really
clean up
doing
a lot of the
anything to
particle
enforce that,
effects
the way
as
it
well.
might in Control or in Payload. And so with Push, we have more of that, to where the game mode is actually
Like you
is
notice,
actually
like with
open to
Transcendence, with the
control
Tesla
the length
cannon,
of the match.
they kind of change how
the
everything
pace of
looks.
the match.
How does Diva change?
Yeah, as you see on the clock, it's 8.
She has all the same abilities, it looks like.
Clock right now. So yeah, it is pretty fast. I think it's definitely intended with some of these.
I guess you don't. You may not need to
poor
change
Lumpy
Diva, given how
gets
strong she
taken
is.
out
Like,
right off the rip. Lumpy was going on one of those flanks. Didn't turn out so well. So does the bot unlock right away?
It takes about 30 seconds for it to unlock, and the reason we do that is we don't want a team to think
So
that
just
there's
like
a certain
Control,
amount
it doesn't unlock
of
right away.
pressure, or to have all this pressure to get to
That's
it as quickly
interesting.
as possible. We want you to be able to be strategic.
I wonder
with
if
the way
there's
that
hard
you,
checkpoints. It looks like there
approach
are.
the bot in the middle of the map, and it's
Where it
it's
won't
very
go
similar
back
to the
any
way that
further.
Control works.
Lucio is greener, yes.
So
Green.
we can see the robot. He's got a name, right?
Yeah, his name's TWO.
That's less fun than Choco.
So we see some Genji play in action. You see like all the buildings you can kind of come from, players up above to the side. I think you can definitely see that like fast paced.
That was the world's most
it
useless
looks,
immortality field.
Way more like you can as a DPS player just kind of go off. To
Choco
the side, make a
is
play,
superior.
try and
That
make
is a fact.
You see here they're going right for the support.
Ooh.
Yep. Yeah, and the map, there's still a main path in push,
Yeah.
and it's really important for us to have that in all of our map types. But there are a lot of ways to get around that and to get through.
I was really hoping they would be like, and there's no immortality field in Overwatch 2, but
Can't blame 'em.
apparently there is. Man, all the sounds on the weapons are so much better.
Yeah, I'm here.
This Tracer's kind of bad.
The gameplay. I think, yeah, I mean, this looks.
She'll
is
get
really
there.
Deathmatch of this does.
Maybe.
Like, we're just, they're just going in, they're having a
She'll
good
get
old brawl,
there.
And then obviously as the mech or the point is moving through the map, it's changing up every single time, and it's just. To be honest, it was fairly similar to what I played back at BlizzCon all those years ago. Just with one less tank. It's still
it's just
yeah,
but it's just more space, I think, that operate.
Yeah.
Like I'm somebody.
So
who,
I wonder.
I
Okay, it
play
looks
on
like he
the
turns around
DPS,
pretty much
like,
instantly.
and
Maybe
I'm
like a
excited
1
that
second
maybe
delay
not
on
everybody
turning
will run
around.
around in like a death ball, and I'll be able to kind of like play Tracer and go off to the side and make a play. I noticed too the green health over Lucio here.
Oh, yeah.
What is
Yeah,
that
the
on
shields
now?
Actually,
are
forgot about
green
that. So many changes.
on the overshield.
I was like,
That's interesting.
Sound barrier doesn't give green health when I do it.
Right. So that's something we're changing up. Like
Hitting every shot,
it's
we just
possible
don't know
to
what
change,
she's
although we're
aiming
happy with
at.
it right now.
True.
This is a change to
Good point.
what we kind of call overhealth. This is like a larger
Oops.
system, which is, in Overwatch 1 you can have over armor and over shields, depending on who's giving it to you, much like you can have normal health and shields and armor. So
Diva
once
built
you start
another
getting into
bomb before the Sombra
trying
had
to
her
create
first
clarity and
EMP.
make sure the game's very readable.
Don't-
And all these
alright.
things, like you mentioned with Zenyatta's UI and everything. That came up too. Is like it's possible to get, especially you get into like PvE talents. And stuff
I
like that,
can't
your health
stop
bar can
thinking
get
about how
really
good that
colorful really
soldier
fast.
gun
Like,
sounds.
You could have, health and then armor,
like an
and then
attack
shields,
helicopter.
and then over health, armor, and shields. And you could literally have 6 segmented colored health, and it was like I can't even understand what I'm looking at right now. This is like so insane.
Diva somehow
we
seems
ended up,
faster.
condensing all
Yeah,
of the
maybe.
over health.
Maybe. Who
concepts
knows?
into just one concept now. And
They're
so-
changing literally
and it was
all
kind
of the
kind interesting.
things.
Other than Summer's EMP, over shields.
There's
was
Lucios on
more
both
a thematic
teams
thing
too,
than
so
anything, because it doesn't. It
maybe the
didn't regen like
Lucios
normal
are just
shields, 'cause
speed
it's
boosting the
overhealth,
Divas
doesn't have
and
that
nobody else.
a regeneration value. So it was kind of nonsense anyway, honestly. So now we kind of have everything condensed into green health, and it's very understandable that you see somebody with green, and you can see like, okay, that's not that's over health. It's either going to drain, or if I shoot through it, they can't be healed and stuff like that. So it kind of helps. Clarify that.
That poor Two's gonna work out going back. and
Frosty
forth,
Feed
but,
has been good on every
I
hero
noticed
except
before There was like
Tracer.
a circle. So is there like kind of
their Tracer is
points, like,
uninspiring.
progress? Does that change the?
They've been
respawns
stomping
at
the
all?
match,
How does
but-
that work on push?
Yeah, it does.
Not so much on the Tracer.
Robot starts in the middle of the map, and it pushes those those red barricades in front of it, and you can use those to kind of like in world see what your high
Yeah, the
watermark
Tracer
is.
is kind
And
of a struggle
if
for
the
that
robot's
Tracer, I'm
able
not
to
gonna lie.
push it to the checkpoint, it will unlock a forward spawn room for the team that was able to do it. You can kind of see it just off to the left here.
So
behind
that's
the
what the checkpoints do.
So if the attacking team can push it over there, they'll unlock.
It's
that
another
point,
spawn
and it gives
room.
them a big advantage.
So if it
in
goes-
order to kind of push through the rest of the map.
So
And
that's
then I
how
assume
they
when they're,
reward like ticks.
When 2 starts moving the
That's
other
interesting.
direction, I guess if he decides to start moving the other
Rip
direction,
that dash.
they would lose that forward spawn, right?
The new
there
Genji
is-
shurikens look
Yep,
so
there is an
good.
additional detail there. It's TWO has to be pushed back to the middle of the map before you lose your forward
okay.
spawn room.
Ah.
And we actually started it the way that you described it, but a lot of times the robot could just move back and forth across this one checkpoint, and it got like really chaotic, and you'd have no idea where you were going to spawn. So we kind of gave you a grace period in there, or made it a little bit stickier.
That's cool how they
by-
did the
by
spawns.
forcing them to return
I
to
like
the middle.
that.
Yeah, that's a good call. I can imagine.
Man, that
if
sucks.
that
Red
was the
team
case
almost
now,
got
yeah,
there.
You would have like, if I spawned this 1 second, I would spawn close, and then like Stylosis spawns the next second. And he's
Yeah, the
far away.
changes to all the characters
And
look
I mean,
interesting.
that happens in Overwatch, but it was way too blatant.
This
with
double
that.
bubble Zarya is sick.
Yeah, the Zarya builds charge so fast with
It's actually
4
a
bubbles.
recent thing we checked it in, but
She's very scary
Is her
now.
damage ramped up when she's charged? Like more so than
I mean,
well,
yeah,
guess.
it's
Yeah.
So you have the same bubbles you had before, but they're both using shared charges. So yeah, we found that because this increased flexibility in how you use it, she tends to be at higher charge more often. I mean, this is a good example, I guess. Yeah. But
tattoos look muddy. Yeah, we don't know what settings they're playing on in game either.
People, what was your average energy? Would you say?
The texture quality doesn't look like they're playing on high in game. So.
Balancing TBD, but
it looks so fun though. I mean,
I don't mind just queuing Zarya all the time. If this Zarya goes live,
the people that I would play with on Zarya would just
automatically
grind
Zarya
themselves.
Right,
I don't even have to play DPS.
Actually, for themselves. Like, let's just run in and double bubble ourselves. But then you start to think like, actually, if I save 2 and Genji pulls out his blade on my team. I think if I double...
Yeah, you can make your whole team immortal. Like, you can make 2 people immortal.
I didn't even think of that. Like,
or you can double bubble the same target.
Yourself, but you could,
like, if they're trying to dive and focus you,
theoretically, like, bubble a Genji blade and then bubble him again, right?
Yeah.
That's actually crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Works really well.
Like, if they're playing, like, Winston, Tracer, Genji with the speed boost and, like, Zen or something,
as it just kind of
you could just double...
coming off the back of the...
Double bubble whatever they're diving, and it just doesn't die.
Seeing how we feel about it, and...
It's actually kind of insane.
It's been pretty interesting. I'm certainly concerned about it in some cases, but it also leads to some really awesome plays, so... kind of letting it rock for a while and see how it feels.
Because Zarya will just be permanently charged.
Progress, but I like the progress on that one. So OT, how does the rule work? I guess
this is a good question.
To push all the way to the end, or do they just?
So I guess they have to push as far as the other person
the blue team
is, right?
They just need to beat the time of the blue team. So the win condition for push is whoever has pushed it the furthest by the end of time wins, or if you're able to push it all the way to the end of the map, you'll win instantly. So now they're unlocking their forward spawn.
The steamroll is happening. Oh, so they still get the new spawn room in overtime.
Yeah, they need to.
Imagine if Lucio almost just won the game. He went for the sneaky 4-man boop off the robot.
So you can have the good old blunder where everybody walks off the objective and.
It looks like another mode for Charlie Niners.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's a problem.
Why didn't the Reaper shift?
Go right down to the wire. Just as we saw there.
Hey, blue team won a match.
Yeah, this is going to be quite good.
More of a push team, I suppose.
This is
more of a push team, I suppose.
I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed watching that.
That game mode looks really good.
Stylistic, I think to your point, like
that over 2CP.
When you think about 5v5 or 6-on-6, you're like, oh well, like does it still have that big energy, like that fast paced kind of, and you see it there. I think especially on push. I think it's why it's such a
push looks like a very good game mode.
The game is that you still have these fast paced fights. You're able to make plays all over the map.
It sort of ramps up, right, as the match goes on. It gets more and more and more intense, and you have a big sort of crescendo towards the end. That's really nice. I really like that.
I feel like every push game will be overtime.
It adds to the the suspense of it all.
But I guess not if you stomp and get the forward spawn earlier. I don't
know. More often than it doesn't, and it was a decision that we made when we were developing the mode, where we
have to relearn them anyways.
What was more important for push?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to relearn every tank. Even if Overwatch is the only game you play, you're gonna have to relearn at least the tanks.
To be moving back and forth in the map. Because
they're probably gonna have to rebalance every character
and so we
to go for 5v5.
This mode plays better
not just the
to
tanks.
have it moving back and forth more often, and so
I'm guessing healing will be lower overall.
Is all kind of tailored to have that, and it makes it really exciting.
Yeah, it's just the
same amount of healing you just pick on a Mercy
combat,
and just your tank won't die.
Kind of Jeff, in your wheelhouse, right? Like for just hero design and being able to kind of come up with these creative different things that
I'm really hoping we get some more Sojourn
it's not a
gameplay
hero
today.
that you would kind of think for an aggressive type of game mode like that, but she was she looked unkillable all the time and she looked crazy.
She's really scary in this form for sure, and I think that's kind of what we're thinking for a lot of these sort of off tanky kind of characters before,
we don't need healers.
And D.Va, we saw D.Va there played as well, and D.Va's gotten a lot of changes too, so I think it's worth noting that we're not taking every tank and just making them super aggro. In some cases we're pushing some of the more aggro tanks and making them a little tankier. So
little less
in a lot of cases,
aggro.
They have a lot more health, as people notice, but D.Va has a lot more sort of matrix juice in the can, so she can use it a lot more. So that's an example of where we didn't just like give her more missiles or something like that and let her go kill everybody. It's like
I
she
guess
can actually
they're
protect the team a little more. So she
if you're
slides a little
gonna
bit closer
buff
towards,
the if you're gonna increase the
well.
aggressiveness
Probably
of the
players out there who want
non-aggressive
those
tanks,
missiles, but I'm happy. I'm happy.
I guess
I'm
they're
happy
also
that
going to
it's not
have
happening.
to
But Stylosa, final thoughts, man. Excited to have you on. What do you
decrease
think?
the lethality of the
I'm-
lethal
I'm-
tanks to
I
meet
am
somewhere in the middle,
very
maybe.
impressed with that. Much
Ah.
more impressed than I thought I would be.
No
it's been so long
healers.
since I've seen Push in action.
We
And
die
it-
like
Yeah,
men.
it definitely looks better 5v5.
Yeah, this is a live stream.
Like, yeah, I don't know. That's I want to see more.
It's a live
I wanna see
stream of a
more.
live
It's
stream.
Like, you know, I feel hard done by just getting one game. You know?
Yeah, Stylosa's not going to leave the call. He's just going to plant his stake down and just hang out. But guys, we're going to go for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Super's going to join the show, give his thoughts on some of the things he's seen, go over some of the stuff that's going on with the tanks. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
This like panel style of a stream is cool. I actually like that. This is when the Pharah ulted and somehow didn't die. Yeah, we gotta just chill and watch the Zoom call now. I really like the new Elim thing on screen. Like the kills popping up at the bottom with like the points or whatever in the middle. I actually like that as well. I guess one tank buffs Echo like crazy too. Because the only way to have two tanks now is to copy the enemy team's tank. That's kind of weird to think about. What happened to that pulse? Oh, it killed D.Va. It looked like it disappeared. The bomb! She booped the bomb. Stop it. I don't think you can do that with D.Va's Mank on live. The sound fading out here is really weird. Not sure about that. Yeah, one tank, 2 DPS, 2 healers. Whereas right now it's 2, 2, and 2.
Welcome back,
Hey,
ladies and
it's
gentlemen,
Uber.
to the Overwatch 2
What's up,
PvP
Uber?
developer livestream. I'm Mitch Leslie, and already we've seen a ton of what is in the works for Overwatch
5v5.
2 PvP. There's a lot to take in, obviously, with new maps, new game types, and changes, of course, to some of the core mechanics of the game. So we're going to rehash a couple of things, of course, over the next few maps, but we want to drill down on a couple of the things we've already talked about so far. To help me do that now, we'll be joining our Overwatch League superstar, Matthew Super Delissi, of course, is everybody's favorite neighborhood main tank. How you doing, Super? Obviously, big news today. I'd love to get some of your initial thoughts on it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, first of all. I mean, the tank changes, that's definitely
Super's
the one
a
that,
Twice
kinda
fanboy.
stuck out to me. The fact that,
He's one of us. He's a once.
And, my experience with tank, it goes up, it goes down. Sometimes you get bullied as a tank with 2. So I'm curious to see how that's going to progress and change to
Good
make
taste.
it so that it's a lot easier for
His
one
team
tank
is
to
also
be,
the team that tweeted the Luna
properly and not have as many struggles.
and then
Yeah, I mean,
retweeted
this is
me.
something that I think you watch any sort of tank player's stream right now. You can sort of see plenty of the ups and also some of the downs here. Obviously, we saw, maybe some more power being shifted in the direction of the tanks, right? We saw Reinhardt.
Super is primarily a Reinhardt player, so he's probably pretty happy about that.
When you first saw the fact that Winston now has a bit of longer range equipment to bring into the fight.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit interesting. I also like that they grabbed the Zarya from the experimental. I mean, at least in when I played the experimental, I thought that the cooldown needed to be shorter on that. But I like that in general. They're trying to give more power if it's going to be just one tank, because I feel like otherwise a lot of tanks like Zarya and Diva, they would kind of
slows enemies and deals additional damage.
Design right now, I feel
Mei doesn't really, solid freeze anymore.
Made to be played solo, if that makes sense. But now I feel like if they do the proper
a change
changes,
people
I think it could actually be pretty good.
Are going to be very happy about.
Absolutely. You saw there as well a couple of the changes. We mentioned Winston's maze. We haven't really talked about it. It's definitely part of a
more solid freezes with her left click.
Into, in a moment. And of course, we'll be rejoined in just a moment by some members of our development team as well to maybe add some content.
I wonder if we'll get more of those little ability showcase things.
Here.
That's cool.
We heard a little bit about Diva and sort of the way that she was sort of tweaked. So I want to take this opportunity to bring back in Jeff Goodman, of course, the lead hero designer on Overwatch 2, and Dion Rogers, our associate art director. Guys, thank you so much for joining us here. Of course, now bonafide main tank player at the professional level in the room here, and super, of course, a chance to share some of your thoughts. But gentlemen, overall, it definitely feels like the role of the tank changes vastly now in this landscape. Not only is it just one tank, but maybe
Super is an aggro Reinhardt player anyway, so
in the game may have shifted.
Good. It's good for him.
Absolutely. I mean, it's sort of like, definitely in the past, it's somewhat true as well that you're definitely leading your team, but I think now you're doing it kind of by yourself, and you can really sort of pace the game out, at least for your team, exactly how you want it to go. Which, so I think some people are sort of, internally we've had people like kind of worried about that pressure a little bit, like, oh man, that's a lot of I have a lot of responsibility now. But I think as you start to play it, and you realize that
I think tanks already had that though.
Before though, I mean, I'm a lot stronger. I can actually survive these encounters a lot more, especially with healers both focusing on me now.
What if they just don't change Wrecking Ball at all?
Kind of being empowering and super fun when you get in there. Especially obviously with the ability to cancel Reinhardt charge and stuff, so you don't have to.
Interesting, there's like little points on those ledges you can walk between.
So you don't have to overcommit with him either, so a lot more control.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That clip of Reinhardt cornering just looks so cool.
Nice. And these changes, so it took me a while to get used to the changes. But
Wrecking Ball, yep.
But Jeff said there's a lot more choice.
Just a giant hamster and a robot mech
as the tank now. That it just feels fun and really good for the team.
I love that you sort of mentioned Reinhardt here as well, because I don't know if something that we maybe haven't covered at great depth so far, but because the role of the tank maybe changes, or maybe it becomes more focused now to some degree. Reinhardt obviously known him to have
Hammond
passive ability
is like Wrecking Ball is such a ridiculous character for
talk a bit about role
bad players
because that's
versus good players.
Is coming to Overwatch 2 and really sort of sets some of these roles apart from each other.
Like the difference between
coming to Overwatch 2, it's for those.
Hold on, what are we looking at here?
Role. So
much further
DPS and support.
Oh, the tank didn't get booped as far. That's the new passive.
To their role.
Tanks get booped less.
See, tanks have a couple things associated with them. One is they're reduced. They get knockback reduction on them, so you can't knock them around quite so easily, which thematically makes sense too. But if you're a tank player, you're playing against Lucio and whoever else, it can be really infuriating sometimes. Just be flying around all the time, not be able to control your character as well. So that's
everyone that owns Overwatch will get all of the PvP changes for Overwatch 2 for free, I think. That's my understanding.
People feel like they generate too much ultimate for the enemy team, especially if you're trying to be aggressive, which is what we're trying to incentivize.
The only thing that they haven't confirmed is that the graphics...
Maybe you cancel charge and try to get...
I don't know if the graphics will be the same without buying it or not,
if the enemy shot you so much that they built more ult than you did. So what we've done is shooting an enemy tank generates less ult for you. So your enemies get less ult for shooting.
Tanks being booped less is good.
These are obviously the values we're tuning, but you can
and then you won't get the campaigns or the PvE co-op modes. I mean, there will probably be cosmetics and stuff that are locked away.
The role passive they get right now,
but I think you'll be able to play ranked and everything just like you can now.
The other ones is they get a movement speed
without
bonus
buying
across
more.
the board, which you can see here. You can see it's not like massive. It's not like
hey, faster DPS makes me happy
around the map or anything. But we have found so far, like, I mean, players probably test this too. Like,
makes Genji better.
Changes to anything is huge. This is why Lucio was considered.
I mean, right.
Mandatory for so long because he was the only one bringing move speed. Granted, he's a lot more move speed.
I mean, they made a promise when they announced Overwatch that if you buy Overwatch, you always get all the heroes and maps for free, and I guess they're keeping it.
Allows you to do as far as even just like basic map traversal, you can just flank a lot easier, and you don't have to commit as much time to the flank and to get back. But also, like, there are times where, let's say you're like Reaper or something.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Resources to get
I guess if you wanted to get into Overwatch,
he's trying to run around a corner, just get
you could pick it up like next time there's a sale now, right?
I mean, give it a little bit of time.
Because I would imagine once Overwatch 2 gets closer, it's gonna be
that's
way less
powerful,
often.
Even though it's kind of a little subtle there. And then the support changes is, this is probably something that Ana mains especially are gonna love to hear, but the support players all get automatic health regen after a certain amount of time of not taking damage, which is basically Mercy's passive.
That's great.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the support auto
so
gen.
Mercy's passive, but a lot less of a degree, and Mercy's passive will still exist as like a much stronger version. But this is still there, so
that is nice to not have to waste your nade as Ana.
Really low, you're like, I guess I'll nade myself. But sometimes you're missing like 50 health, and you're like, am I gonna waste my nade just to heal myself? Where's my other healer?
Usually
like,
the
where's
other
the
healers
health
are
back?
in front of you as well, so like they have to turn around
Right,
to see you.
right. Exactly. So
yeah, those role passes are
been
cool.
Really awesome.
To help
Especially
define the
us,
roles more.
Designing new heroes, because I feel like we're in this position every time we design a new healer. It's like, okay, well, we have to come up with some mechanic that they can heal themselves, because it's like ridiculous that you can't like, shoot yourself in the foot or whatever. It was always on a joke, but so now they have these sort of like, you don't have to worry about that anymore. Unless
that would be the mega Ana buff. Just make it so only Ana can shoot herself.
On top of this, so you'll actually get double regen if your shields are regen.
That's what they should have done for Overwatch 2.
Still retain their sort of extra regeneration bonuses, but it's a lot nicer for Ana.
Now, of course, on the horizon, we're going to be showing more of our new maps here in Overwatch 2. But something I noticed that kind of snuck past us here, some footage of Mei. So, walk us through this, because Mei seems like she's been changed pretty drastically, at least in terms of how she operates.
Mei not solid freezing with her left click is
kind of
cool.
Tip of the iceberg, and some changes I can talk about.
Some people
Mei was
like
the first one we sort of checked into the build, and
people hate Mei.
So, if you notice here, she doesn't actually fully freeze the enemy here at all. She still slows them, but she doesn't never takes them all the way.
Yeah.
Your compensation, of
all
course,
tank
is a
players
lot more
everywhere are
damage.
rejoicing.
So it's really scary to be getting hit by her because you're taking damage and you're slowed. But of course, there's a lot of ways to escape. You can have help and everything, but you never actually get in that lockdown state and be like, okay, well, here's the free headshot. I guess I'm dead. And for her, it's really interesting too, because she still has, at least right now, she still has that sort of cleave effect, the piercing that can hit multiple targets. So, and you're doing so much damage now. If you can, it's kind of fun to play this game and try to get all this extra damage, because you could straight up just kill people now by piercing through tank or.
So the freeze does way more damage. That's interesting.
You just pierce through everybody, just killing yourself. So it's kind of an interesting.
I kind of don't like that.
Still has an interesting back and forth with her secondary fire as well. But as I mentioned, it's kind of the tip of the iceberg.
It's wild to see Winston just shoot far out of the air.
Around with, and this isn't actually in this build. This is something we've been experimenting with. Hasn't quite been successful enough to quite put it in the build yet. But this is something we're looking at. Is just generally looking at crowd control across the whole game. Like, where do we want it to be?
Yep.
Who should have it?
Make crowd control less prevalent, please.
Feedback over time. We totally understand and respect. Like, sometimes you're playing against the ultimate CC team with like Mei,
playing tank,
McCree, and whatever.
Playing tank against like Mei, McCree,
and you're just like, oh my god, I hate my life.
Brig,
we
Ball. You just get
experimenting with like
knocked,
setting guidelines.
frozen.
Like, okay, tanks should
floating
have
in the
CC.
air.
They're all about space control, and they
punched
have that
by
role to be able
Doomfist,
to earth shatter, or create that those great opportunities. But should as many DPS heroes have CC as Mei? Maybe McCree doesn't need a stun, and so we're looking.
McCree's only value is stun though. Wait a minute.
Actually, really, the DPS and the supports.
Better give McCree something insane, because
again, this is all like really hot off the presses because it's not even in this build. But we're probably thinking that like Ana's pretty cool right now. People are generally pretty cool with her sleep. There's a skill shot element involved.
You can give me one
There's
more sleep
a lot of
if you want.
just keep going. I'm not like a fan of sleep darts. It just kind of hits everybody.
Just make Ana's primary fire sleep dart.
So like that, we're still playing. That one seems pretty cool, but like McCree probably not so cool, even though he's sort of like ingrained on McCree as a stun. That's like what he's about. But it's like, okay, well, what if he didn't? What if he had something else? Or what if it worked a different way? And of course, that almost has as many ramifications as the tank changes, because it's like now we're talking about, okay, we take all the CC away. Tracer,
good.
Fist,
make the mobility heroes better.
Are just like out of control now, right? Because like they're sort of heavily countered.
You want that?
So then we got to go back and change those heroes.
I want the mobility heroes to be strongest.
that is something that's
Dive
heavily in
is the
progress,
superior
and,
Overwatch.
I'm hopeful that I think we'll be able to get some reductions in there. I'm sure. I think a lot of our fans would like to see it. So trying to, a lot of these changes, including the tank changes, are trying to get back to like, core shooter roots.
It
Yep.
definitely feels
See,
like
there's
it.
that word, core shooter
we
roots.
were
Yes,
at a
yes,
point
yes,
of
yes,
wondering,
yes.
like, is this game like a MOBA? Like, how important is that positioning,
Right,
the tactical,
right.
the ability usage element? How important is the shooting element? It's not uncommon for
The reason most people stop playing Overwatch
it's
is
about the
because it
gunplay,
stopped
but as
being a
the game
shooter.
Evolves and you have these ideas and you bring these new abilities in that it can sort of change that. Super. Usually, mate, it's hard to get you
Want to
to
focus on
stop
the
talking,
shooting?
but you've had a moment to absorb some of this. Let's talk about how you think the role of the main tank or tank in this regard is going to change in maybe an Overwatch 2 and sort of some of your thoughts about where the CC is going. How's it going to feel? You have a rock hard mental, dude. Like the way you sit on that stream and you just go. But tell us how you think this sort of changes.
Yeah, so that was kind of a
Yeah,
big worry of
yeah.
mine, was like
Korean players just
and I'm
come
thinking
running
current Overwatch,
back.
where you're playing against a Brig and then an Ana and then a McCree and a Mei, and then
They
you're
have to
stun
do a
locked
lot
for
of
17
systems
seconds,
work
then you want
to
to alt F4.
make Korean
But
players
if they're,
come back to you,
if
though.
it is, looking at the rest of the CC in the game, and
Like, one in every
reduce that
3
across the
games,
board,
apparently,
and
in
then on top of
Korean
that, you're
ranked
adding more utility to tanks. I
had
think that's
either a
it's gonna
hacker
make it
or a
easier to do
booster.
that. Because
So-
I have felt that CC is kind of it's a little out there.
Get washed
sometimes,
before we even get to learn,
It's not always
yeah.
the most fun to play against. And especially for me, I always felt that displacement CC was almost more egregious than like stuns, because like if you get booped by like a Lucio and like a Brig whip shot or a ball that can like swing back and forth, I always felt that was more like annoying and frustrating to play against, because you couldn't really control that. Like you kind of just got knocked everywhere, and that was just the way it was. Are those being like looked at as well as stuns, or is it like everything across the board?
Yeah, definitely. But the nice thing is we have this new tuning knob of the tank passives to say, if we still want
that's
Lucio
true.
to be able to boop enemies off cliffs or something and still leave that strong, but we still think tanks are being booped too much, we can just dial that like knockback reduction up a little bit for the tanks, so they're less affected by it.
Yeah, the
So it's a
tanks
nice
being
place to be.
displaced less
Alright,
is good.
that's
That's
nice
a
to
good
hear.
passive.
I mean, yeah, we're drilling down pretty heavily into like what it means to be a tank player, and I think talking about it is good, but I kind of want to see some more of it in action. I mean, Dion,
Another game?
I can see
Question
it on a
mark?
little preview screen, but
Any
our next
games?
map is really incredible, and it really captures, I think, the vivacity and vibrance of
Ooh, we haven't
of-
seen this
of a
yet.
region of the world that's really known for it. Talk to us through this map that is Rio.
Rio!
Yeah, so Rio, another map we wanted to do for a long time. We have several artists on the team that spent a part of their life there, so it's pretty fun to
Brazil,
kind of
Pog.
dive
Brazilian
in and
map.
see this Overwatch version of Rio. The beautifully painted favelas, colorful, vibrant club. You get to visit where Lucio's club is. The team loves going to Brazilian barbecue, so one of the spawn rooms is a Brazilian barbecue place. It's another map.
Fun.
We're just having a lot of fun creating different details and this aspirational version of this location for Overwatch 2. And it's a brand new.
Of course,
payload
Lucio.
here too. You guys saw earlier. It's a
Lucio
pretty
has a
fun
stage.
carnival float. So we're
Yeah,
just
the
having
club
fun
looks
with
fire.
these guys. Really cool Brazilian barbecue.
It's just a beach.
It's fun and sunny and colorful, and I think it's a map that feels like Overwatch when you play it.
I mean, already that sort of signature vibrance that so many of Overwatch's maps have been credited for is there. Can you obviously I don't want you to give away too much of the story, but is there a context here, like where are the attackers starting from? Because I see some beach, I see different landscapes sort of getting fleshed out here as we go through the map.
Uber looking for
Okay, so the
PvE during the
defense actually
PvP
starts in
stream.
Lucio's home. So yeah, obviously there's a story layer to Overwatch that we want to tell. So Lucio plays a big part of that. So you get a little hint of where we're going with that, but we're not talking too heavily about it.
Lucio's
Also,
home.
Lucio's club is it's kind of a community place, so it's a place. If it was real, people can come there for free. He's a community guy. We wanted to showcase this with this gigantic.
That's cool that he has the
sci-fi
giant
club
frog
he has.
stage. Just lets people come hang out.
Yeah, it's connected to the story of Overwatch. We'll just have to wait and see how closely Rio plays into the game. You saw a little bit at BlizzCon a while ago, but there's definitely more.
Yeah, I mean, I think
So
it was eventually going to
I do have a
happen,
question
because
for Jeff.
all
Sorry
of the
to cut you
maps
off,
are kind of
Mitch, but
focused
I do have a
on
question, if that's fine. So, if I'm pretty sure, like way back in the day, there was like an interview
on a
that I read that
character,
was like
usually, so...
5 was too small and 7 was too big for the roster limit, and then 6 was perfect. But like, I'm kind of curious, like where along like the Overwatch timeline did that philosophy kind of change? Like, was it role lock? Was it like people learning how to play the game better? Like, you know what I mean?
Pretty much all of this. Yeah, I mean, we know so much about the game. I mean, as kind of Aaron touched on at the beginning, like, before everything, I mean, you could just play 5 Winstons. In fact, we had an internal tournament where that was the strategy. 5 Winstons and a Zenyatta.
I mean...
It's sort of like, oh my god, this
so I'm
like
trying to think.
A problem, or is this cool?
Maybe a China map?
So, like, obviously,
I mean...
building really any game.
Because well, they have one, I guess. Shanghai Tower.
Once you have the game,
because there's Busan, which is in Korea.
For a while and you're making changes.
There's
like,
Hanamura in Japan, although Hanamura is going to
so
leave the game
over
because
time,
2CP's leaving.
Like it was touched on, we were still keeping in.
So I guess there's only Koth maps.
Some of these kind of changes, and then coming Overwatch 2, we were just like, let's revisit everything, and that was definitely one of the major core decisions of Overwatch 1 we were really looking forward to revisiting. And at that
yeah,
point,
there's Lijiang Tower, which is in Shanghai.
Much better. Maybe we were wrong all along, although.
And then there's
it's kind of a design
Busan.
You're not necessarily wrong. At the
so
time,
I guess there's there's really only
retrospect.
2, because Hanamura won't be in ranked anymore.
Yeah.
So obviously this is
there's no
I
Torb
mentioned
map
that at the beginning here. So
in live game, but they already teased it for Overwatch 2. So we know it's coming.
Roll on out, and we kind of teased. Yeah. So these payloads. This is. I mean, I'm no stranger to peacocking. Look at what I'm wearing. But this is great. Obviously,
that payload is so bright.
In Overwatch 1.
That's awesome.
With these payloads here, so.
The payloads being all different on the maps is cool.
What I'm seeing already is real difference in map geometry, right? As we move into the second phase, all of a sudden it's less about chokes and overpasses, and it's just this jumble of all these buildings and so much high ground here.
That's cool that there's that winding side street to high ground. There's not an Overwatch map with that at all.
Yeah, that was...
Oh, you can go ahead.
Oh, that was just one thing.
That's actually kind of crazy.
More of this phased approach with the visuals.
Oh, Doomfist just got rolled.
As we move through the space, so you saw it was a bit more open. As you get,
you love reading it. Yeah, you still don't know what they say.
So this visual progression as well as gameplay is much more clear in some of the newer.
Well, I'm assuming Supermercado is supermarket, right? Or store or something.
Maybe it's just a coincidence, but I feel like a lot of chokes in Overwatch 1, like specifically like I think like Hanamura first or like going through King's Row second, they're very like tight and like
good old fashioned damage boosted Widow
to spread across, and it can be like, you know, a real pain to get through sometimes because you feel like you really only have like one way to go through. But I'm seeing, at least in the other 2 maps that we looked at, a lot more flanks and ways to access the point, and I think that's overall better for the design, because I feel like when you, especially on Hanamura first, like going through that choke is kind of, you know, it can be real not fun sometimes if you're just not clicking, or if it's just, you know, they have a hard comp that
2CP dying
counter, and I think it's just better
good
overall.
news.
Yeah, if we
Widow trying to hit a grapple shot for the stream.
A problem, say they're stuck at the choke, they have a few more options to break through. Basically, they don't have to rely fully on the tank.
That's cool. That's cool that
but
you think
that's always the thing.
Looks like feasibly could be a futuristic Brazil
situation.
Are there going to be previous maps in Overwatch 1 that will be reworked, or?
We don't know.
Can you not say? Is that secret?
No.
Or?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
So obviously, you've got one less hero on the battlefield.
I think they've done a pretty good job with it.
Labyrinthine, I guess, or just
in general, making the maps kind of stay true to
you could cover if you wanted to take a different
how
approach.
they feel in real life, like those places. Like I know people said Busan actually kind of just looks like Busan Plaza.
If you go too far in one direction, right, it can seem quite barren. But here, like everything, there's attention to detail everywhere, right? There's so many crisp.
I remember a bunch of the Korean players being pretty impressed with it.
Feel big, but it definitely, as opposed to maps we saw in Overwatch on live right now, it definitely feels bigger, right? Was that ever a consideration, trying to balance that, the sort of size and the majesty?
Yeah, the stage is
yeah, it's definitely
it's
more
like a skate park.
Before.
I mean, I guess you have Lucio who kind of floats around on like sound skates or something. I don't even know canonically how Lucio's movement works.
Build strategies from, but ultimately the maps are in a fairly similar size to the previous. You're just seeing a lot more detail out of the Overwatch 2 engine. We have a lot of cool upgrades that allow us to do more while keeping a smooth performance. But yeah, it's something we're constantly playing with, the scale of maps and how it feels to move through the space visually. As well as
Doomfist just crouching behind cover.
This really has like a Dorado feel almost, right? We have sort of payloads that are moving through underneath, and there are multiple levels here. This is not just sort of 2 levels here. You can,
yeah, like the aesthetics of the map has never been an issue for Overwatch. It's just, are the maps fun to play? They're always gorgeous.
I love this point in particular. Like,
just,
taking that
are they good maps? And you won't know till you play them, of course.
It's really important. If you can hold it, it's fantastic, but it's just really hard to hold because you have all these upper flank routes and under flank routes and stuff, so it ends up being like kind of a gambit to try to even take it and hold it, especially when you don't have tanks that can just sit on it with barriers all the time. But it's so powerful. You can see where Widow is right there. It's so powerful. You have this line of sight on everything up there.
So is universal ult charge nerfed, or is it just as a result of the tank changes that it seems like people are getting their ult slower?
It's mostly just the tanks, and we don't have. They're probably, I can't remember exactly all the individual changes, but I think we probably adjusted a few heroes here and there. May have gone up or down on their costs, but it's almost entirely just the tank changes.
That Widowmaker has weird grapple settings.
There's one less tank to shoot as well, so it makes it a little bit harder.
Although looking at Widow is an interesting example. We haven't adjusted the snipers too much yet, but we're keeping a really close eye on them because a lot of what sort of controls snipers is the fact there's all these barriers you can't shoot through. When you're playing as Widow against a comp that is, you know, like back in the day when it was like Wrecking Ball only or something like that, like you definitely are a lot more powerful. So we have to make sure that they don't get out of control.
I feel like on some of these choke points, it's definitely a lot more wider than some other maps, and I feel like you know, if unchecked, some certain Widows could do a lot of damage.
Yeah. So yeah, just
this is Lucio's house.
Change like this,
right?
I mean, you know, we talk about how sort of tanks have changed now to sort of allow them to be more multi-purpose or sort of fill a broader spectrum of roles.
That's a pretty sick setup he has for his PC. You know, I'm not gonna lie.
You kind of know what the player is playing for, right? The shield creates space, right? You create space just because the shield exists, and with someone like Roadhog, they create space because of the threat.
Are we going to see Roadhog for the first time?
It's implied threat, right?
Or are they going to switch off of it?
Exactly.
Directly displayed. So
they're on defense, so they're probably going to stay on it.
Do you still want there to be the mix of there sort of being that implied threat plus obviously a very visible threat? You know, has it changed the way you think about how tanks create spaces now? Obviously, all tanks have to be able to do that to some degree, regardless if they have a shield or not.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously. Also impacts new hero design, working new heroes, how they're going to interact with creating space and defending their
Talk
team.
more about new hero design.
Looking at
please.
Arisa's not being played here
just
for
a little
reason,
bit.
Looking at her really heavily. Any hero that has sort of just the really.
So Roadhog, he doesn't have new abilities.
So the ones we're kind of trying to hit the hardest first, and then.
I wonder if they just haven't changed him, or
already makes Roadhog shine a little bit because he's not being compared to the huge barrier Reinhardt, but certainly
had to get a barbecue place in there. Yeah, they talked about that.
Went for it.
I think he said some of the designers just loved Brazilian barbecue, so
would have been really scary.
They decided to make one of the spawn rooms that.
Especially in regards to cooldowns. So like Roadhog used to have a much faster hook way back in the day. Maybe we could bring that back. Especially in a world where all the tanks are pretty aggressive, because it doesn't feel like it's super crazy. We still want to make sure there's enough like counterplay. You don't want to feel like I made him dodge the hook and then we had no opportunity to attack because he just hooked again right afterwards. So certainly a balancing act, but a lot of the tank.
Yes, buff Roadhog again, please.
The tankiness
buff, please.
Can be just in the hero themselves now, because if you get to go in and be threatening, like with all this extra damage, and just be hard to kill, you're just creating space by existing.
Just Roadhog things.
What an animal.
What an animal.
Super. I'm curious to get your opinion here. Obviously, as someone who plays tank, right, and you know you'll play, main tank as we called it, or off tank. What is it that makes you sort of feel most powerful when you're playing tank, right? Because obviously all the heroes offer something so different, each of them. But can you narrow it down to something?
Looks like Roadhog is doing Roadhog things.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of it comes down to like.
He's hitting every hook,
right? And a lot of that currently is kind of based off of the fact of what your second tank is doing, which is obviously, no longer a thing because there's a removal. And I feel like this is really gonna have to rely a lot more on like your supports.
Yeah, I mean,
keeping
just
you a
less
lot more alive,
shields
as opposed
and
to,
less
like,
tanks
your
makes
off-tank
Roadhog
or
better.
secondary tank, you know, being in coordination.
Because
with you.
Roadhog wants to hook and hit a
because
one
the
shot,
supports now, they only
and
have to
it's
focus on
easier to
one
one
tank
shot,
in
not
particular.
tanks. So
As opposed to, you know, having to split it between two. And I feel like that's probably gonna have to give a lot more. Tanks are gonna have to play a lot more, I guess, assertive, because they can't really rely on their other tank to make the decisions for them, or like to, you know, help them out in that way.
I feel like it definitely changed.
That was a really good wall.
There's a good handful of players who...
she kept them alive through the grab and the bomb.
It really boils down to their capacity to deal damage. You know, like a lot of time, like you'll see them, right? You get these weird sort of Sigma Zarya comps, or you see like a lot of people just like playing Roadhog. That's their favorite tank because he does damage. You know, trying to make, you know, a player feel powerful on tank without just doing damage requires you to really think much more about game design. So that's what I kind of wonder. Like, outside of just
this hog do
doing a
be
ton
he
of
do
damage,
be
how do you
hooking
sort of
though.
balance a tank to make them feel powerful without just pumping numbers into their primary fight.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a design philosophy that I'm maybe not qualified to talk about.
That's actually
I don't know.
that's
I mean,
convenient because I wasn't actually asking you, but you can weigh in on it
okay,
first.
yeah, I'll stop speaking. That's good. No, that's good. I'll stop speaking.
I'm curious what your
That's good.
opinion is, but yeah, I mean, a lot of it's like we're talking about with just options, and like Super mentioned, like we just want to make sure that, I mean, that's kind of the point of the Zarya change, is just giving her more flexibility and more options.
I love seeing
I mean,
Reinhardt's
it
just
happens to be a shell,
majestic
so
beard
it
in
has
his little
more energy and is way scarier. It does more damage in
profile
this case.
icon.
We may have to rein that in a little bit. She was already running out in that last little bit there with like 80% and then 100%, so you can see it's pretty aggressive.
Default.
But,
So Roadhog
yeah,
got
it's definitely
another
just
hook.
Trying to create
He's kind of shredding.
really interesting playmaking opportunities and just strategic thought, and I think that's where a lot of people kind of like to have the tanks exist, where it's
Good try.
if you really want to just click heads, there are probably better options out there. I don't think we're likely to make any kind of like sniper tank out there or anything like that, because you know there's a lot of other opportunities. For that.
Sniper
We'd like to try to
tank.
keep the tanks like I was mentioning with the
I mean, that
crowd
would
control
make me
systems,
play
like,
tank, I
tanks
suppose.
being the ones who are primarily able to do crowd control, and that's also with only being one tank now, it means still there's going to be a lot less crowd control in the game in general, but still allow them to
What?
sort of flex that.
Surprised Farah didn't get that boot.
Right, so you talk about obviously taking a little bit of that away from May, but obviously it's still something that, you know, you feel like you could include in the game. It almost feels like it's a more moderated approach to it now.
Moving tanks more towards a CC
can
role,
be
I
able
guess.
to bear a lot of that sort of crowd control potential. It just means that there's, you know, now it's just that one hero.
Yeah, there's
on the
just
battlefield
random debris flying
so much
everywhere.
outside of, you know,
That was a risky hook.
5 different forms that are coming in. So it feels like almost
Exactly.
responsibility as a tank player is almost kicked up a notch there, because you got to be a jack of all trades in some cases.
Especially if crowd control gets reduced to a point where you're looking for to counter something specific, like you're looking for.
They're focusing the hog so hard.
You need to, let's say you're playing hog, you like really want to land that hook when he comes in. It's a really big game changer if you land it. So it's sort of. Like
I like not
and
having the
save it, keep an
segments
eye
for
on
the
him.
old charge, for example.
Conversely,
Oh,
if you're
rip,
a
Brian.
character who is really watching for, you know, like Reaper or something like that, wants to get his ult off, but you want to make sure you're not going to get stunned. It's a lot easier to sort of track
That's cool.
who's can stop you. You know, you're looking for their tank and looking for. Rather
Yeah,
than
like I
looking
said,
for-
I mean
it's kinda like when you're
the art
Zarya, you're trying to
department
ult and you're
doesn't
watching
really
team really
miss
close 'cause you don't
when it
know how
comes
to
to
do it.
Overwatch, in
And
my
that's what I'm
opinion.
most
So
concerned with, as far as timing goes, it's like that with more CC in general, I think.
This guy's nuts on Roadhog.
yeah, he's
even with sort of
Speedy
less
Rogue's
Ryan,
finding
so
the value
being as
right
close
now.
as he was to the whole hog just
Oh, she was too
away.
far. That would have
I
hit if he
still
was
remember
closer.
it was almost like a tooltip text loading into game, sort of playing Overwatch. It sort of said like, listen out for footsteps. Like the heavier footsteps mean your opponent is potentially more dangerous to you. But it definitely feels like, you know, the weight of these weapons is much more effectively conveyed, right? If I'm listening here as we're sort of talking, like that scrap.
Yeah, they're gonna have to go for an OT push.
I love the weapon sounds. He's
Yeah,
done
me
such a
too.
great job.
And they, I don't think
Especially like
Widow.
Soldier.
Oh,
yeah,
they
Widow's
got
so
him.
Yeah,
great.
Widow is
The sort of
insane.
like the echoing sound when you shoot in an open space. Oh my god, it's fantastic.
you really feel like you're actually wielding a very high caliber weapon, right? That actually has weight and it has
Ryan?
a sense of kick.
Where are you going?
and sort of make sound. And also, like based on where you are in the map, you know, the
Where'd
environment.
that pin come from?
This is maybe covered, I think, this time online as well. But it really
Touch
feels
the
like
payload!
environment. We were
They almost C9'd.
club, in Lucio's club beforehand.
That would have
and
been
Echo's really
that would have
more
been an
apparent.
embarrassing way to lose.
Yeah, environment playing a big role in how things sound.
And being on the receiving end of
Yeah, I was gonna
shot,
say
it
every
just feels
Brazilian
so
map
much more
ever
dangerous hearing
is
the
just
sound.
favelas.
So it helps you hide.
The
Basically.
first time I played
Right, yeah.
was probably favelas in
That's a-
Modern
sorry, that's a
Warfare
big part
2.
as well. Like, it's not just when you
First
fight,
time I
but
saw
when you're
Brazil in
getting
a
hit
video
by
game.
These weapons and these abilities seems like it. Yeah, it has more of an impact. It's not like we're giving you an earthquake in your seat, but you know, I feel like I'm almost sort of shifting in my seat as people are getting hit by stuff here as Doomfist lands punches. So much more visceral experience, right?
Oh yeah, I
That's
mean
pretty
it
cool.
adds so much. I mean, there's so much done to. I mean, I'm certainly not an audio guy, but I've talked to them a lot and what they've been working on. But they've been given the ability to create more accurate sounds in certain spaces. So like an indoor tighter area or an indoor wider area can have different sounds and get that sort of sound of things bouncing off the walls, and it's so epic. And not only is it make the game feel a lot better as far as like your weapons and getting shot at, but like it actually makes the environment feel a lot better because you feel more connected. Like you're actually
Yeah,
in
they
that
talked
space,
about
just
the
way
sound
that
reworks a
all the
lot
sounds are
at
playing in that
BlizzCon, which
space.
is the last
The
time we saw
immersion of the
Overwatch.
environment too. That's just the sounds of the environment is
They like completely
Yeah,
reworked the
it's
sound
beautiful
engine
now.
with
we
real
could just walk
physics
through
and
without
stuff,
all the
so.
bullets.
Yeah, I mean, it's only exactly right. Not so tranquil, I guess, when you're fighting for your life with 9 other
Right.
people. Superman, I mean, naturally, you know, these are changes that, you know, some of them you thought about before, obviously having played so much Tank, and maybe you wish for some of these. And, you know, I'd love to get some of your final thoughts here on sort of how Tank is going to feel and heading into Overwatch.
Give
2
us
as
a
I'm sure
Sojourn
you'll be,
game before it ends.
you'll
Give
be
us a
crafting
Sojourn game.
and, playing.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I have to get a chance to play it first, but
Yeah.
based on what I've seen, it looks like you know, Tank's gonna have a lot more pressure. I feel like, or a lot more of a role.
Give
to
us
play
the new
because,
heroes.
You know, you don't really have that second tank to help you out and you know kind of.
We might
help
get a
clean
one
up
more
your mistakes,
thing
if you will, like
at
you
the
know,
end,
if you get
yeah.
if you get a bubble or
But
Matrix or you
the
know,
nature
whatever
of
it may
this
be.
stream,
So I feel like in general,
and
it looks like
how
tanks are going to play a lot smarter. But
they're
you do
reworking
get the plus side
everything.
of having both supports only focus on you as
Makes
opposed to
me
having
think
two. So I think it'll be interesting.
that they probably
We're
will.
interested to hear
They're
some
far
of your
enough away
thoughts,
from
of course, as
release
the
that
live
they'll
stream
do another
goes, and,
stream, maybe focused
as
on
we get
heroes,
further
or
and further
maybe
down
I don't
the
know.
development roadmap, as well as some of these changes get fleshed out even more. Super.
Sounds like
Thank you
they're
very
still
much for
trying to
joining
figure
us,
out what
mate.
on earth
Obviously,
is
I'll be
happening
seeing
with
you soon
5v5.
once
So
the shot get back on the battlefield. But good to have you here, and yeah, we'll see you soon, man.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Super.
Thanks.
And that was, of course, Matthew Super Delissi, obviously tank player from the San Francisco Shock, and has given us some really good insights as well, maybe on how it feels for him to see these tank changes.
Well, that
Right
was
now,
like
I get
a
an
weird
opportunity
cut.
to welcome to
Hello,
our stream,
Cupcake.
obviously prolific streamer Cupcake. Obviously, we see you play a multitude of FPS titles, including Overwatch. Great to have you with us, Cupcake. A lot of news today.
Thanks.
We're continuing to tease more out of these devs slowly. I'd love to get some of your thoughts on what we have so far.
Oh man, I really like seeing all the new like hero looks and like the map visuals and the UI updates have been really cool, especially as like a support player. I'm seeing a lot of little like UI updates for like support heroes and I'm really excited about them. So
yeah, the UI.
Absolutely. You and me both, obviously. I'm
UI
support player
looks
as well,
so
I'm looking forward
cleaned
to
up.
teasing
Yeah.
a little bit more out of our devs. Not only, of course, about maybe supports, but a little bit more about Overwatch 2. And of course, yes, we will be showing another map in just a moment. So let's take the opportunity to sort of bring these devs back in. Of course, obviously, Jeff and Dion have given us some great thoughts so far, because something that was teased at BlizzCon Online and we got to see a little bit of was actually the hero looks, right? Overwatch 2 is, you know, it's a game that's set a little bit further.
Or are we
sort
gonna
of
get
in the future
a
as
little
far
bit
as we
more
can
on
tell,
hero
and
redesigns,
this is
visual
reflected
redesigns?
in what the heroes actually look like. I don't know if Dion, Jeff, if you can sort of speak to that, because it's not just like a jazzy tech upgrade, but something, you know, we can see the passage of time being implied with some of these new looks.
Yeah,
Go for it, Dion.
that's part of it, is the passage of time. You can see Reinhardt is a little older. I think there's a sneak peek at a few characters that there's a bit of age difference on them as well. A bunch of guys are part of Overwatch now, so they have access to cooler tech in their outfits.
McCree does look way
It's just-
cooler.
we're having fun, kind of like
The segmented
in a
armor
way
is
to
pretty
show
sick for like
these guys
abs.
have upgraded their equipment. They're
I'm a
ready
fan
to
of
do
that
battle
look.
in this new world. Farah here with their new Overwatch gear. So that she has the armor.
This
that
is all
fits
stuff
the
we saw at
Overwatch
BlizzCon
suit.
though.
Yeah, and just Reaper is pretty amazing.
Reaper's new armor looks pretty sick too.
There's definitely a feeling of them looking sort of more high tech in a sense as well.
Yeah, Farah, they changed her to like
You know,
the
I love
white
you
and
kinda-
blue
you
kind of.
This
more.
is cheeky. You're kind of teasing little bits of the story or how the world changes out as we go. So that's just building
The
my
Widow
appetite
redesign.
to sort of see more about how the world is changing and what
Hello,
all these
Widowmaker.
heroes are up to. I mean, you see, obviously,
Hello.
Widowmaker's got a change of hairstyle as well. Tell us about what the development
love her
process
hair.
on these changes is like, because I think it was sort of mentioned that there's sort of new tech available to developers to sort of bring these characters to life, but I'd love to know how you go about refreshing or revamping or update some of these hero looks.
Yeah, we have a lot of cool, really cool engine upgrades that you could see in some of those shots. A lot of better detail. The character's skin feel more natural. Their hair has a really awesome shader, and it's still stylized, but it just feels much more real, almost like you could touch it. This is in the environments as well. There's tons of nice detail. We've upgraded the lighting engine, so shadows are better. All these things are just to
That's
make
the
the world feel
question,
much more
right?
immersive.
Well, he can teleport. Maybe
More
he can
dynamic,
teleport
and more
objects
animated
too.
things in the world. The characters have
Maybe
the
he just
cool tech
teleports
gear
the new
and
bullets into his shotguns.
details that we weren't able to do before until we kind of tuned some knobs in the engine, and so we're suddenly playing with this, maintaining Overwatch style, keeping the game performance smooth, but upgrading everything to the Overwatch 2 level.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how
I'm
the game
curious about,
performs.
like, the new upgrades to the
If they're
skins
completely
and, like,
reworking
just the
engines
heroes
and stuff.
themselves. And you guys have all the skins from all the different heroes from Overwatch, and like how challenging it is to bring them
Mhm.
in. And,
Oh, I didn't even think about
update
that.
Their looks as well. Like, is that an easy process, or is it like tedious to make them all look just as good?
That's a great question. So a lot of the tech, for example, the skin shader will apply to all the older skins as well. So
Nice.
our engine team is working hard to kind of create a workflow that's easier for the artists, but it's still there's a level of work there. But
Yeah, I didn't even
everything
think
you
about
see
that
when
because
you
there's
do
like
Super Road
hundreds of
Heroes,
skins.
the updated hair shaders, updated skin.
And if they're changing like
detail
the
maps,
shape,
these will all
like the
carry
basic
over to
shape
the
of like
older,
McCree's armor,
heroes or the older
then they have
skins.
to retexture
A lot of
every
stuff
single
looks
skin.
even better than it did before.
That's kind of
Yeah, I
crazy.
can only imagine.
There's a bit of work
Suffering
there to
artists,
apply
nothing
some of
new,
these
yeah.
New techniques. To
Thus
these
is
guys,
the
but
way of
It's
the
a beautiful upgrade to practically every single skin in the game.
media
So
process, I
it'll be
suppose,
fun
right?
for players to see.
Is it going to be possible to like add more customization, like with this new technology, like unlocking different like color schemes or something like that, or like special weapon variations, even for like certain achievements or something like that, so we have more ways to customize the way our heroes look?
An
Answer is
amazing
no.
question, but you have to wait and see.
Ah, see the fact that he didn't say no is a yes.
What about, like,
Not a yes.
oh no, what about like mixing and matching like skins and weapons? Is that going to be possible? Like
I
using a
doubt that
weapon
one.
from
Yeah,
one
I
skin?
doubt that one.
Ah.
Yeah.
Because like that would be.
He didn't
so
say no
much
to
fun
more
if you did something
customization,
that.
though.
Can you imagine? Like, oh man.
Now, I mean,
Ugh,
we're
okay.
already
That's
we're
interesting.
theory-crafting. You know, we're off to the races here already.
That's interesting.
I'm like, so many ideas.
There's a lot of fun stuff in store. Yeah.
That's one of those things that, like, wait a minute, the fact that he didn't say no, thank you, can't.
Okay, Dion has a hero look to show us. Dion, do you want to talk us through this one?
So this one will be, I think.
Ooh,
it's
Torb
Torbjorn.
rework. We haven't seen
So
Torb
this is
yet.
Torbjorn 2.0. You can see it's
Nice.
a little older. He has a bit better technology and gear.
I love the eye
And,
patch.
yeah, he's the Torbjorn we all
The
know and love.
optical
She's
thing.
just much more advanced. He has a cool.
Very cool.
They made him
you
look
see the
more
hair showing really
formidable,
well
for
in his,
sure.
Beard.
But like, imagine that, but with like his summer skin like weapon.
Right.
Like,
That would be very fun
that's
to
the
mix
kind
and
of
match
stuff I wanna
weapons and
see at some
skins.
point. Like,
That would
So
be
that-
fun.
I mean, you can definitely see. I mean, some of the changes are big, right? They're vibrant, and obviously, you know, you can definitely see the
Yeah,
passage
they
of
look
time and
great.
evolve. And some are subtle, you know. It's the patches on the knees.
My
of the
favorite-
jeans, it's the
my
connectors
favorite
between the
rework
hardware
is,
that he's using, the goggles that he has.
Is the Genji?
I mean, you can-
Genji
right.
is
You
just
can
an
see this
edgelord
gregarious
teenager now.
attitude from him, very
He just
clear,
has a
like,
hoodie on over his armor
very
for
much
some reason.
brought to life. It's
And you know, we want to upgrade the characters, but we don't want to lose that silhouette that's familiar to players. You know, he still looks like Torbjorn from a distance. He just looks better and more detailed up close.
His final
but
form,
he
yeah.
maintains that silhouette we come to know and love and like to shoot at. So that's some of the
Extra props to the VFX team for doing some like the next.
I'm guessing we'll get to see
Can't
one more
VFX
match played,
pack there.
and
That's
then
great.
maybe there will be a
So
one
we'll
more
come
thing at the end.
yeah, it's a serious modernization.
And then we'll
of
be
not
wrapping
just
up,
obviously
maybe?
how his skins look, but how he behaves in the game and how he interfaces with the world that he's put in. Let's shift gear here and talk a little bit more.
I wonder if we'll
about our
see
next
a
map.
match.
Rome was teased at BlizzCon.
Ooh,
right?
Rome.
With these
They
beautiful
talked about it,
panoramas, This Colosseum,
but we
looking
haven't
this,
seen
like,
it.
Sort of, this sort of future Rome, but that's obviously coming up next, and it is a push map. So I want to talk a little bit more about how a push map is actually developed. Right, the newest game type of the game.
These
gives some really unique situations to play through.
these maps always look so
Let's go in
good.
a bit deeper. I have to assume, right? Like there has to be some symmetry.
Oh,
to
he
the
goes
map here.
around the
Is that
Coliseum.
right.
Okay, what's important when designing?
That's
a push map? Let's start
interesting.
there.
So symmetry is obviously
It starts in the
number one
Coliseum
important
and then
part.
goes
It
out
makes
into
it
the
very
street.
competitive because both sides have a similar layout. But it also makes it tough to create a second one. So you had Toronto that we saw earlier, where it was a more of an S-curve layout to the battle. In Rome, you'll see it's kind of a C. You kind of cut through the Coliseum. It becomes tighter when you reach the robot, once you see the players play. This one was where we really found the way, okay, this is how we make iterations on push. At first, the S-curve was an easy one to go to, you know, it's make the map snake through buildings and things, but how do we switch it up for a different space? And we knew we wanted to make Rome. We knew we wanted to go through the Colosseum, so that's kind of part of the initial design for this version. Of the
Yeah,
push map. But
Overwatch
it's
is
a
like
very fun mode,
near
especially
future
in Rome. I think the
redesign
scene plus pushing the robot kind of
is cool.
enhances
Like
how
Ilios
fun
is one of my favorite
this game
maps for
type
that
is.
reason too.
It's
Kind of the
such a great
reimagining
juxtaposition
of those
between the
ruins.
sci-fi movies that you might watch, and then a location that is obviously known to
Yeah.
us, and sort of thinking about how you know the passage of time might change it. I want to know, you know, you mentioned the first thing.
I
you
also
mentioned,
saw
I
a
feel like, was
poster.
that,
So
like,
apparently, in the
physical
Overwatch
design,
world,
that
gladiator
symmetry.
fights are back.
And you guys, as the developer team on Overwatch, have had a good chance to see how so many.
Hey, welcome,
So I'm
Pixeltron.
curious to know,
Thank
like,
you for the
how much
follow.
is
Hello,
our
hello.
Overwatch League a factor when you're sort of considering a game type or a map.
Well, you
design
shall
like
fit
this?
right
And
in.
How often do you think
An
like,
Overwatch
players
diehard
like
fan and
this,
a
or
girl
are you
group
gonna
stand.
Sort of, you know,
Yup.
go for the 1% players.
Yup,
on
yup,
Spider-Man.
welcome.
Does that factor into the
Welcome,
dev
welcome.
process?
I think so. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Jeff could probably
I mean-
answer this better.
Yeah, I mean,
One of us. One of us.
certainly, I
Yep.
feel like it's hard to imagine a player base sort of breaking a map apart probably as
Oh.
much as the Overwatch.
We're
team
looking
is-
at Vancouver again.
and they will find that stuff.
Or, I mean,
fast, and
Toronto?
they've used even the smallest things.
It was Toronto,
so
right?
yeah, I mean, we definitely, as far as like the
forgot-
specific layout.
I think it was
looking at
Toronto
our
because the
stuff,
sign,
quite a bit, but
the
especially when we're
team
developing
just
a
said
new
Toronto.
mode,
But
it's very much taken into account how competitive it's going to be, and as was brought up earlier.
yeah, I want to play
you
this
know,
push
based on the
mode.
rule set, we want to make sure
This push
we
mode
can
looks
avoid
really
it, we
good.
wanna avoid any kind of tie situation. This mode certainly prevents that. And then, as Aaron was talking about earlier, like we were debating whether or not this should be like kind of easy to push to the end, and then you get a point, and then the other team can maybe it's multiple rounds, and each push is 1 point. But then it's like you get in that potential tie situation, and there's
Yeah, then
some
it's
of the sort of
then it's like
tension
2CP,
of,
and you have weird
pushing it those
spawns
last little
and
bits, and people
times,
fighting
and
over those little bits.
you
of
go to
space,
7 rounds,
so
and
I think, yeah, I mean, we're very cognizant of that.
I like
especially
that
when
they kept it
it's
1
competitive.
round with the
We had
checkpoints for
so
spawns.
many matches that came down to 2-3 meters. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
such a fun. Just,
It seems
you feel
like a
good
really
even
good game
losing,
mode.
You're like
From
that was a good
without
battle
playing it,
because
at
it
least.
felt like we fought really hard for those last 2-3 meters.
This map is genetically engineered for play-by-play casters. I like that. More opportunities for us to just yell nonsense. We're gonna jump in and check this one out. We got a bunch more questions. I'm sure Cupcake you do as well here. But I mean, first impression is wow. This is an incredible vista.
Once again, it's
beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow.
You're just gonna find me standing there,
We talked about
staring down a
the
widow
S-shape
scope
sort of,
at
thing,
Rome.
but it looks like
by the way,
there's some twists and turns here. It's almost like the path.
the first time I play an Overwatch map, I
There's
literally
a little bit of C shape,
just
and
die
then
because
there's
I
this
just like
bridge
see
overpass
something and I'm
that's
like,
pretty
whoa.
fun to encounter. I think
Just
I'm
stand there.
curious to see how this battle plays out once the players get to the overpass.
Oh, this map's so pretty.
Yeah, I feel like the two big features on this map, and we'll see it right away, is the first one.
Yeah, see, the
is
Colosseum
right
seems like
under
they
the
brought
Colosseum,
gladiator
basically.
battles back in the hopeful future.
Or the battle starts.
Evidently.
And, it it kind of like looks sort of simple in basic geometry, but is like the subtlety there is because it's got a slight curve to it the whole time.
Yep.
It's so amazing, and you can see certain of these are blocked off. And
Hey, they
certain
swapped
open,
Team 1 and Team
squares
2.
between the pillars, and that was actually iterated on quite a bit. I remember
Frosty feet.
Opening them up, closing them, and
Now
you
on
see
Team
the tops
1.
are actually open, so you can climb over, fly over them. So we still allow
Right click
some
him.
flanking
Oh,
routes
he's getting
if
healed.
you're, like a Pharah or Genji, and you want to get.
I wonder how much damage
but you didn't want to
the
close it
Winston
entirely, so
long range
that
right
one
click
section
does.
was sort of everyone's favorite right away in playtesting, and then just a massive amount of iteration on it was great.
Right.
So we'll see it here.
That quality of life trains on Winston's bubble.
What hero do I main?
Notice, by the way, the duration of the bubble remaining being shown on the HUD is huge. And
Oh yeah.
The sleep darts are real. Just the almost synced up sleep dart
It's
trade.
funny watching.
sorry, I mean, I just love the curvature actually sort of. It actually reduces line
Oh,
of
this
sight.
Zen is
So
having a bad
you
time
cannot
trying to hit
necessarily
Tracer.
at one end of this sort of track and see the other.
Yeah, I
if you're
made a new
sniper, so
account because
even
I
that
haven't really played the
small
game
tweak,
competitively in a long
has
time.
balance implications that I'm sure you've thought
I kind
about to
of
quite
phased
a
out of
degree.
Overwatch
I think
for a
that
while, and then I've just been
it
playing
gives me something
placements
to
for a
also
while,
think
and
about,
then
something
basically
we're
leaving.
definitely
But
gonna be wanting to talk about here. is
Overwatch
that
2 has
just
me
in the
excited
others
again.
HUD that's gotten a change, right? It seems like every sport. looks a
So
little bit different when it
I
comes
made
to
a
the
new
HUD and some
account
of
to
the
try
abilities
and
it
kind of
interacts
relearn the
with.
game properly,
Yeah.
and
Which like there's even
I've
the
been
Zen
maining Echo.
placement of the orbs.
but I'm pretty bad at
that's
Echo.
So much better, like more in the middle. rather than
Historically,
having
I'm a
it on the
Genji
side.
player,
Oh yeah.
I think that's.
but
really
Genji's
nice. I
like
noticed,
basically
the little
unplayable right now.
changes with, like,
Yeah, I've been
having
playing some
Mercy,
Tracer
like,
as
it shows
well.
when Mercy's healing somebody a lot more clearly, and I like having the icons of who it's on. You know, I like the. I wish to see more with Ana.
I've
I
mostly
would
played
love to see
like
with Ana
since the game came
having
out
it
total.
show,
I've
like,
played
who she
mostly
slept, like on
like
the UI.
Hanzo hit scans at Genji
Like
pretty
that would be
much.
so cool.
Especially because, I feel like I have to tell my DPS player that's in the enemy backline, I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
that, but I just let the fire out the air and they just
I
went
know.
boom.
I slapped someone. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot.
The good old
Or
Ana.
sometimes you throw one, you don't know who it hit, like because there's so much going on. You're like, okay, I definitely slept someone, but I'm not sure who it was. That might be important to know.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part. You sleep Genji accidentally with a blade and someone just wakes him up because they have no idea that you've sort of slept them, right?
Exactly. Oh no.
His Mercy's kind of stuck in the
You
corner.
as a player get indication if Mercy is healing or damage boosting you, right? Obviously, your screen sort of on live, your screen sort of takes on like a sort of a very slight non-intrusive glow. But it seems here you've also changed how it's indicated to you that Mercy is sort of damage boosting you. Is that also the case with like a nano boost, for example?
Mercy's just looking for someone to shift to. Feels
I
bad,
don't remember
man.
if we've actually changed the.
Your
the
team
look
aren't
in the
peeking
Nano
her.
Boost
I don't
effect.
think we have yet.
Gotcha.
I don't remember, but in general, there's like great big passes going across. I mean, really across the team. I mean, you can see the skin passes and
That's cool that the payload goes into the Colosseum like
skin
this.
changes and tech we're getting, and then there's also VFX updates. Look at the VFX changes we're making and sound, of course. So it's kind of just awesome being like, even if I'm
That
not
actually
directly,
looks so cool.
working on that stuff, just sort of seeing that
The
stuff
way it,
comes
like,
from,
weaves
and
into the
it's comes out.
Colosseum.
It's just awesome, like day to day, seeing all the changes.
And it's like the main battle is just happening out on the street, but then the objective's over here.
I sort of wonder what the, look, it was mentioned at
Because the high ground's over there, so if you want high ground, you have to be in the street.
Sort of, there wouldn't be sort of further maps developed for, right? The focus would no longer sort of be on that. So I'd love to know what the sort of thought process is between sort of the removal of Assault, or 2CP as it's fondly known, and the addition of Push here.
Oh, that's such a feels bad man for Zen.
Right, so that has a long history actually. That's probably was probably
Trancing until the
people who
bomb
follow
goes
the game
off.
closely are aware. We've obviously the assault map, or TCP as it's called. A lot of people had a lot of concerns with it, and we've tried to make a lot of changes to it. In fact,
You can't save
people might
2CP.
not
It's
know
the
is,
worst game mode
we've gone
ever
through
added to a
multiple
first-person
phases of,
shooter.
like a heavy overhaul of it, but none of them ever really were good enough to go even to an experimental card. Honestly.
It's actually the worst game mode ever added to a
I always
competitive
remember
game.
One time I had a new designer join, and one of the first things he gave him was like, overhaul 2CP. What do you want to do? And it was like the hardest problem ever. Go ahead and solve it, new guy. It was like, oh, that's kind of rough actually, in retrospect. So you know, we've got went through a lot of changes, and it got to the point where we were like, we'd have to make so many changes
Unintended,
to get
yes.
where we want to be. Like,
Oh,
because we can't
Diva.
even say no anymore. And at that
Diva,
point, if we
why'd
have
you
that
land
mode,
in the
why don't we just
trap?
make a different mode?
That
Yeah,
was
let's make new.
you didn't
Why
have to
try
do
to,
that.
You know, change it to that degree. So
You could have
that's kinda
avoided
how
that trap.
ended up coming about, and a lot of it was feedback from the players.
So that's kind of spicy, Jeff. You're trying to say that there's other modes in development. Are you trying to imply that?
I would say that we are constantly experimenting with new modes, but they're experimentation right now.
How crazy.
New York was.
Sorry, Dion, please.
That
Oh, sorry. New York was.
That
we
graph,
experimented a lot in New York before landing on the mode that we chose.
I mean, it seems like
and-
so many possibilities for that kind of map, right?
Right. Temple of
Echoes.
Anubis, when we
It's
first showed
interesting.
that at
Echo
BlizzCon,
seems
the
like
shipping
she's
version actually
buffed
changed, you know, to try
just
to fix
because
2CP
there's
even
one tank
back
now.
when the game first came
Right.
out.
Like having two
Yeah.
tanks
We actually the version
already.
shared
If
and
you
the version
copy a
that shipped
tank
with
with
the game
Echo,
was
you
pretty
usually win the
different
fight.
from the choke point standpoint.
But having two
To try to
tanks
address some of the 2CP
for
challenges.
one fight
So-
is actually
We just left that spot in the
way
middle, so we
broken
were-
compared to
Yeah.
one tank.
And that was it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just going to comment on it because we were there, although they just left it. But the other thing I was mentioning about this map, because I mentioned two things, is that area we just left it's like this, like corkscrew, basically,
Bends over
and it's
itself almost.
super interesting. Yeah, it like goes, it basically flipped on itself and goes over itself, and you can see it coming up here.
The
so you go
Reaper's
under, in
just
this case, you go
walking
to
with
right,
the
and back
robot.
up and then cross over itself.
Mhm.
It is a really interesting.
He's
thing
like,
to
"Oh, they
play.
came
In fact,
back."
When we were first playing it, I remember we had our first feedback session where it was like, I don't know if I like this or not. It's either
Right.
amazing or it's terrible. I can't even tell. Like it's super interesting and very impactful. And so
It's
we were like,
super
I think that means
interesting.
we keep going with it, keep playtesting it, and keep iterating. So obviously having a big impact is almost more important if you can get the good stuff of it. So after a lot of iteration, it's definitely persisted and it's become kind of the most interesting spot to play around because
There's
it's
a lot
like,
of drama there.
That was all the ults.
yeah, the flanks you can flank from
Ooh,
on
grab.
top to drop down below because you have to go under this pass. And if you just sit in the middle of that pass as Reaper or something like that and just drop down, of course you got to worry about gonna be jumping up on you or something. There's actually a little wall on the right you can climb up right there if you're a character that can climb or grapple or something. So it's just like this. When you're going through that after playtesting this map enough and playing enough, when you're going under that pass, it's the most like
Dramatic.
anxiety-inducing spot. It's just like, especially when
Yeah,
it's
I
calm
like
for
all
a
the
while first,
little
'cause, like,
pieces of
after
cover and
fight,
high
you're
ground.
going, there's no sounds. You're like, okay, what is about to happen here? Where are
I
they
mean,
gonna
who
come
knows,
from?
right?
And
Some of
it's
them
like,
might just be
There's a
super
little alleyway
annoying,
in there too,
but
a tiny once you're under the
that's
bridge. There's an alleyway there.
yeah,
Reaper
the kind of
76,
rework
yeah,
of the
there's a
visuals
lot
is
of
interesting.
So it's
Finding
almost
people.
I think
right?
it's a
You
cleaner
go through
art
that
style.
first underpass, and you just know it's a little too quiet. You know that
Yeah,
someone's
right.
gonna show up and clap you. I mean, I'm loving it. It looks like, I mean, the verticality difference between sort of playing in this initial sort of bend and then outside on the corkscrew.
Focus the Diva
is
down
huge,
and then
right?
ult,
You
baby.
have to sort of switch columns almost to try and make the most of it. Cupcake, we've seen now a good, decent bit of roam. I'd love to get some more of your thoughts here.
Oh yeah,
They scattered pretty well,
absolutely
actually.
Beautiful. I love all the like architecture and everything in it. I was fascinated when I was watching the.
It's interesting seeing Lucio's ride around the robot instead of a
And,
payload.
I would
Because you can, like, it looks
love
like
to
you
get in
can
there
wall ride
like,
and
just go
climb up the
explore it and
robot.
Look around and like figure out like what the best way to go about this is because there's a lot to it. It's a little confusing like looking at it from like this perspective, but I'm sure once you get in there and you actually like play it, it makes a lot more sense, you know.
even at 5v5, yeah, you definitely have the feeling of like franticness or hecticness, you know, sort of around the bot.
Yeah, exactly.
And this seems like a game mode that's catered to like giving these like adrenaline sort of pumping moments of overtime, right?
Oh yeah.
It seems like
Good
there's
old
a lot
soldier
of,
holding on the bridge.
moments.
What I love though is that these
Except
buildings
Diva had
don't
full
seem
matrix, so
decoration. Like even look up at the top right side, right? Like all these buildings you can go in. There's so many more of these nooks and crannies that you can actually explore. That seems like a way more intensive map design process as well, because you have to think of everything. You cannot leave a stone unturned when you sort of turn this tapestry.
Exactly.
Nice, Diva Bomb cleans
something
it up.
like this.
Okay, I'm curious if we get a one more thing.
There it is.
So cool.
Right, that was your first look
Or
of
what?
obviously at some gameplay on Rome. A beautiful map, and my god, yeah, I really think that
Drop us a hero
the shop floors
teaser.
out there are gonna have to be thinking a mile a minute just how they can take advantage of the sort of
Drop us a
topography
hero
of the map
teaser,
as it
Jeff.
sort of changes. Really exciting stuff. I mean, we already sort of got a feel for the game mode, but it's crazy
One
just
more
how
thing.
different- I don't know if you feel the same, Cupcake. How different this feels from Toronto, even though it's the same game type, but the map sort
One
of changes
more
the feel
thing.
and the flow so much.
It does, yeah. It definitely feels a lot different. I don't play at like a high end like skill level, so I'm curious how it's gonna work on somebody on like my level. Like I'm like the average Overwatch player, you know.
Oh,
I'm
me
not
You're in
like
good company.
top 500.
You're
I'm
in
not
good company.
GM. Like I'm plat. You know, a lot of my Overwatch experience as a support. Like I solo queue.
Stuck in the plat.
support.
Feels bad,
You
man.
know, like it's the struggle is real, and so my experience is like, you know, I have my tanks that just like Leroy Jenkins in, and I'm like, okay, here we go, and I'm just trying to like keep up, you know. So I'm curious, you know, how that's.
She's
gonna
the
go on, like,
the average
flat
support player.
games, you know.
Sad
I'm gonna
role
find
to
out 'cause
play.
I sure as heck won't be playing in any other rank than plat myself. That's what I'm gonna be
Me too.
experiencing. Hey, really quickly,
So y'all know how I feel, okay?
yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, you're in good company. I make no bones about my standing in the game.
Notice Jeff is
That was
just
incredible.
awkwardly smiling.
Thank
He's
you,
probably like
Jeff,
top
for the info
500 or
walkthrough
something.
Rome. We started from that sort of vibrant sort of overlook, and then we were straight.
It's
into
like
the
I'm
action.
surrounded by
Really like just,
plebs.
the juxtaposition of sort of the futuristic tech plus a really historic location. And that's a lot of fun. I mean, speaking of incredible locations, we actually still have one more map to show everybody.
Oh,
so,
wow.
ladies and gentlemen, stick around. There's still more to
So
come.
not a hero.
New map, an
That
in-depth
means
look
not a
that you
hero,
haven't
then
heard
sad.
anything about. Coming up on the
But
other
that's
side of this,
okay.
so stick
They
around
said
for
that they were
more
focused on the
Overwatch
maps
2
this stream.
PvP developer live stream.
Another 2-minute break. Jeff secretly rank a 1, yeah.
冻住，不许走！
Bro. Seems like Primal did more damage. I'm pretty sure he just 3-hit Mercy. I mean, maybe she was Discord or something. I wasn't paying attention, but it'd be interesting. Oh, that's a feels bad, man. He walked into it. Good old hook melee combo. Dying shots, Oof. I didn't even see anyone pick Junkrat. That map. Apparently he did. Ooh, the Zarya bubble saved her from the pulse. She got booped into the Mercy. This poor Mercy. Just an ash fell on her head. Ooh, Lucio kind of rolled the tire. And there's the game closing bomb. Beautiful placement to get high ground there. That's actually kind of an insane boom. Because if it exploded any lower, it wouldn't have gotten the
Welcome back,
Junkrat
everybody,
off high
as
ground.
we get ready for our final map of the day. Thanks to Mitch, thanks to all the other content creators that dropped by the stream. It was a ton of fun to have them. Back to the original crew though. As I know, a lot has changed obviously with Overwatch 2's PvP. A lot changed with Overwatch 1's PvP throughout the eternity, but I think like this is a pretty drastic kind of change from what the players are used to at home. I guess for the players,
5v5 is
now,
going to
like,
be
what
insane.
can the expectations be? Obviously, like you guys have mentioned, a lot of this is still work in progress.
Yeah, that's a great point to bring up, and I think it's important to recognize that while we're really excited about a lot of the changes that we're making to the game, I think there's probably a lot of people watching the stream that can't help but wonder how it's going to affect them. Like we have a lot of tank players in the game. We have a lot of off-tank players in the game. And something that you said resonates with me, where Overwatch has changed over the years. We talked about, before we had hero limits or before we had role lock, like GOATS was a very popular part of Overwatch for a long time.
GOATS is probably what killed
people
Overwatch.
People were actually running 3 tanks instead of 2 tanks.
That's when,
and I think one of the things that has always been a part
of Overwatch. That's when everyone stopped playing and everyone stopped watching. This is the 7 months of GOATS straight.
It's probably jarring to look at a change like this, or maybe it's a little bit shocking because any time a big change like this happens and you start settling into like a pattern of uncertainty or of fear,
we're still
really
recovering the player base from
your
GOATS.
Current context.
Dive is the superior meta.
Will continue to evolve and continue to shift. The shift from
Dive is best mode.
The shift into role lock, it changed some of the meta of the game.
Yeah.
And now people look at the role of
my favorite meta to watch was the triple DPS rogue
than
comp
they did previously.
back in the day.
And I think that is a natural
the
result
Tracer,
of something like this.
Tracer, Genji,
it might
Soldier,
be easy to say,
Lucio,
like, well,
Zen,
I'm an off-tank
Winston.
player. How is this going to affect me as an off-tank player? And I get that there's strategy there and there's synergies between some of these tanks, but if you're an off-tank player, if you're a D.Va player or a Zarya player, you can still be a D.Va or a Zarya player. And what we're hoping is when you get in the game, because a lot of this is about how it feels to play those heroes, when you get in and actually feel what it's like to play as Zarya or D.Va, you'll come away really enjoying the experience.
I mean, that's what's important, right?
It's a really good shout. Is that
you had to make tanks more fun to
this
play
in the context of like how you have it now,
I feel
right?
like,
where you're like, well, wait, like if I just had 5v5 today, like how would I do like Zarya, or how would Mei work? But I think to some of the stuff that you guys have spoken to, especially you, Jeff, like there's just so many changes that go on with the heroes that are involved with this that. Yeah, like I think to your point, Aaron, like you really, once you get a feel of it, that's when you really kind of, it sets in.
Yeah, it is a big overhaul. We get that it's a big overhaul, but at the same time, it still feels like Overwatch when you're playing Overwatch. Like the heroes all still feel amazing and incredible. You have these great plays. There is still a ton of strategy for your team and everybody.
It's actually almost creepy how focused its camera is.
And so I understand that it's a big
It almost
change,
looks like a green screen background behind him of
still the same game that
room
we've been playing all along.
Desk. I mean, his
it
office.
keeps all those core aspects that everybody loves about Overwatch, but just kind of like changes a little bit of the core and push it forward. The final map we have today, Dion, and that when we were going over like what are we going to show today,
the shield tanks.
I was like, this
have always been the role that people don't want to play, right?
Absolutely.
Classically, if you play matchmaking,
Carlo, talk to me
you usually get.
Okay, so Monte Carlo, another map where
Monte Carlo.
It's this beautiful.
Okay.
The wealthy in the Overwatch universe go here to play. Flying yachts, casinos, luxury hotels, AI F1 races. We're another map. We're having a lot of fun.
We did see a tiny bit of this action, didn't we? Because I swear this is where we saw the rank charge the first time was this street.
Monte Carlo or Monaco. So, and this also has a nice story connection to the overall story of Overwatch 2. So look out for that as we share more later. But
yeah, it's it's just gorgeous. I mean, and the one thing that strikes me about this map, and I think you guys can obviously speak to the best, is that each point and area of the
How
map
deep is the
so
pool? This is
drastically
important.
different.
Can I stand in the pool as Reinhardt
is that
and
something
be
that you guys are
underwater?
looking at with map design, of just like how you guys can change like verticality, levels of terrain, really, empower certain heroes or certain roles to really kind of take advantage of that?
We're definitely doing that.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of the Overwatch 2 maps have features in them that we haven't built before. Everyone just got to look at Rome, and we have that sort of like switchback section in it, or like the loop section, and that was something we tried 3 or 4 times over the entire course of Overwatch development, and we're just never able to get it to work right. And on Rome, we feel like we finally cracked the code on something like that. In Monte Carlo, there is this really cool uphill section in the map. And it's
I'm sure they
and
do.
longer than anything we've done before. And so
I think he
there's
even
a
just
lot of,
said
like difference in
that
elevation
this map is
there.
really important to
and I feel like
the story of
it
Overwatch
kind
2.
of just speaks to some of the changes that we're willing to make with this game in order to introduce new gameplay and to have
It's
it
cool
feel
seeing the
fresh
concept
and
art.
vibrant for players.
Yeah, I definitely think
Kinda
we
like
can start
the
with that final
partial
map and keep
textures
this
and stuff.
discussion going.
They, like,
Because
flash
that was
back
one
and
of the
forth.
first things that I noticed about this map. I was like, oh, like we're going straight. I was like, oh, this feels like very like classic Overwatch. Like here's the choke, and then all of a sudden we're going up. And I was like, I can't remember a map. Maybe even I think people when they see it probably would compare to like Eichenwald when you're kind of going around the castle, but it's even steeper than that. Like I remember you're looking at it and you're like, oh man, how were they getting up there? Like it's such a cool dynamic though.
Yeah, definitely. And Eichenwald's a great example of it, but of
Monte
rising
Carlo.
through a map. But this one doesn't have a large structure in the middle of it, so you're going up this really big elevation and it's all open. And so there's a lot more interplay between the two teams as they're
The
trying to push
boops
up
on this
the
map.
hill.
Someone
Yeah,
goes for the
I love,
mega,
the
they just
spawn
fall for
rooms,
like 30
with the
seconds.
cars and everything. It's just so cool. As you just kind of see both of these teams come out of the spawn. Just a lot of detail. I love leaning into the F1 when you have like the kind of car going around the track. Even the checkpoints is being kind of like your
Seems like they're
kind of checkpoint how
they're
they would be in
both
like a
on the
race.
hovering the Zarya so far.
As you see this. So this first point is
Yeah, I worry
really
about the
interesting,
performance
I
on
think,
this
for a
map,
lot of people,
honestly.
is where we'll see Zarya on defense. It's like
Because we
a
know that they
solo
actually
tank.
render those
Like, you
areas
can
in
play
engine.
so
They're not
many
like
different
just
ways, right?
static drops.
I've seen people play like really close up by like some of these staircases, a little bit further back.
Like
you
how
can
if you
play
go in
snipers
like
up on
the
bridge,
free
you can
cam,
play,
you
like,
can just
soldier
fly
up on
around the
bridge. I
map,
think
and you can go
just
outside
adds
those
so much more
areas.
dynamics to play.
You
Yeah,
think
you
this
see
map
the,
would have some serious
Halo
frame
is,
rate problems,
another-
but
we're having fun with the
I'm
playload
sure they're
here. It's a
aware of that.
AI-driven F1 car.
Man,
race.
that improves sound on the Ash rifle. Just the crack
And,
of the lever
you know,
action.
Creating the escort maps, how does that different from some of the other things you guys are working on? Like
I love
push,
that the payload is like an F1
hybrids,
car.
Controls, like, is there a different type of philosophy when going?
The world's slowest F1 car.
Escort versus some of those other modes.
Still
Yeah,
an
there's
F1 car.
a lot of differences between these types of modes, and when you do map design on Overwatch, like one of the things you always have to think about is where the spawn rooms are going to be and how you're going to get out of the spawn rooms. And obviously it's different. Coming out of a spawn room is different on a payload map. Than
Yeah,
any of our
the
other
amount of
map types,
boops that are
because you
gonna
immediately
be
start
had on that
interacting
health pack.
with the objective. One of the toughest things about developing payload
Yeah,
maps for Overwatch
the
is
payloads being
the
visually
entire
different
route
on
needs
every
to
map
be
is
like a
cool.
certain
That's really
minimum
cool.
width, just to be able to get the payload to fit through it. And usually you want to have enough space on the sides of it so that you can move around. We do have a few tight sections in our maps, but they're very short. Like right after you get the payload in King's Row, it gets very tight, but that's for a short period of time. And so when you do start making these wider areas, it becomes very difficult to control sight lines, and it gets
Widow
easy
swap.
to make very long sight lines through the map where
Counter the far
it no
right.
longer really feels like an Overwatch map.
The double hit
anymore,
scan, I
because
guess.
we really try to control those things. And I think it's why you see that
Aw, the
a lot of
boop
the
feels
payload
bad,
maps,
man.
they do
Oh.
weave back and forth a lot.
As a
And
Widow
so much
player,
of that
that's
is
when I'm
about
screaming at my
controlling
team.
sight
Shoot
lines,
Mercy,
and then
Mercy
also
1,
presenting,
Valk
like,
Mercy low.
difficult areas for a team to push through. Oh, this is the hilly section.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that's the area of verticality where, like, there's a sniper perch up here to kind of like that right hand side if we're looking at it. But yeah, just
Yeah, that
this
switchback.
poses so many different
That's
obstacles
so cool.
for teams, but I also think it's kind of presents multiple ways to play where. You
I
see
can't
right
wait
now,
to
both
climb
teams
up
playing
that.
Zarya, but like you could play really
I can't wait to
fast,
climb
and,
up that
you
wall
can
as
play
Genji
you can play really
when they're
slow,
holding
kind of
close
work your way
and just
around.
blade them in the face.
This team is just absolutely
Point blank, they don't know you're there.
Zarya seems to be the tank choice of the day.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more Zarya as we go on here.
You
The
can see
4
from a
bubbles,
visual
man.
standpoint, when making a payload map, they're pretty large maps for an Overwatch space. So we want the visuals to kind of change as players complete objectives. The world looks different to them. You know, it was flat before, and then you reach the first objective, and now you're on the hill. And they'll move into the hotel for the final objective. So there's this visual progression to kind of your completing objectives. And you feel like you're making progress through the map because the world around you is somewhat changing as it goes along.
Sucks she already used dynamite, 'cause that'd be this
Right.
like a free ult dynamite.
From the live game.
Although
where
she pretty much has
you
ult anyway.
Start through that choke area, goes towards that high ground, and then you have that like interior. And the interior for this map is one of the cooler things that I've seen in Overwatch, and hopefully we'll get to see it. But just the tiering of it. How did that come
The
about?
coach gun down the road, I
We'll
love
go
it.
Inside, we'll obviously have a better view of it, but it's really kind of like this multi-tiered vertical kind of like casino. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's a super cool space and really fun to fight. through. I think,
Overeating too.
You know, over time, Overwatch.
Yes,
map
this is
design has
overeating
changed a little
too.
bit, just the way that the game has changed.
My
a little
favorite
bit.
game.
The presence
Yeah, it's
or the
Overwatch too.
importance of high ground.
I'm guessing
really
that
can't
this will be over
understated
pretty
in
soon.
this game.
They said
we're
it'll be
trying to
around
give
2 hours.
More
so.
of that to teams.
Probably when this match is over, they'll wrap the stream up.
Kind of like conflict points in some of these maps, and who's going to control that high ground.
Yeah, no, I think obviously is a shooter, right?
Yeah, see, like Hanzo and never mind.
Kind of
Soldier's right
the
there.
Go-to, where
Weird
Overwatch
place
still
for the
has
Mega.
ability for multiple players to take high
See, I
ground.
feel like the way to go with Hanzo is to
So they're
step
like
up
a
those
wall
stairs
climb
there.
or Widow, but yeah, with like a multi-tiered level like this, it allows everybody to
Rip,
kind of have
Hanzo's
some
just
access
missing.
to high ground, which brings into play. I know Ana really kind of effective here at the high ground with the grenades as we see the payload kind of go over the line, and the car will go inside of the casino. I've seen a few cars inside of casinos. And they're usually not moving though. I think depending on how the day went, maybe they're moving, but that's just from my point of view.
This is the
What were you
hotel
saying,
portion of
Interesting.
This is the hotel portion of the casino.
Yeah.
The luxury.
So
Yeah, you can see
the
high ground
car
in the back
is
over
just
there.
in
It's
the
actually
hotel lobby.
Really difficult for us to put a lot of it into our game. One of the things we do in Overwatch is
use your dynamite,
our
you
stairs
get like
are
6
very
people.
shallow.
But she
and
doesn't
we
know
don't
they're all
typically
around the
have
corner.
any steep ramps in the entire game, and I think the game plays better that way. It feels smoother like that. But it makes it so hard. It just kills the level.
This
designers on
corner
the
looks
project
like
trying
the
to get
payload's
people up
always
high
going to
ground,
stop there.
because it takes a lot of
Ooh.
space in order to do it.
Oh, you can't
Yeah,
even go
that's
deep in
actually
the
a really
pool.
interesting
Sad.
point that I guess I've never
Literally
really
unplayable.
taken a kind of a notice. of.
Soldier's
Yeah,
just
but
going for a walk.
Like, yeah, the stairs aren't very like these like long like windy climbs. Like there's kind of turns to get to that elevation.
Well, the thing is, Jones,
is that just
anyone
to
that
keep
owns
everything
Overwatch 1
smooth
will get
and
all
just
of the
kind of
Overwatch
smooth and predictable.
2
So that's part of
multiplayer
it, to keep it smooth,
stuff.
keep movement
So,
predictable. It's,
considering all
it's
of this is
also,
free
like,
to
it can be,
Overwatch 1
really,
players, except
like,
the story mode,
kind
yes.
of, difficult to overcome a really steep staircase. It's almost like a wall in
I
front
think
of
the
you.
main
You don't
reason
know
they're
what's
doing
gonna be at
2
the
is
top
because
of
they're
it.
reworking
And so
their engine
we
and
always like
everything.
for players to be able to run through our maps and to be able to look at a space and kind of develop a mental 3D image.
Yeah,
of where
shockingly,
everything's going,
Activision
and
Blizzard is
what the
keeping their
space is
promise.
actually going to be like outside of your view.
They
It's easier
said
to
when
do
they
that
announced
with
Overwatch, once you buy
shallower stairs. It's
Overwatch,
also
you'll never have
easier
to buy
push
another
up
version of
a shallower
Overwatch if you
staircase
don't want
and a
to.
higher staircase, and like lastly, just
To
the
get
way
all
that
the
a lot
heroes
of
and
games'
maps.
character physics work. it's also smoother to move on steep staircases.
I'm sure there'll be like
on
cosmetics and
shallow
stuff.
staircases.
I was gonna say the only,
that are exclusive,
the only
but-
really, I guess, steep staircase I can think
Maybe
of
achievements
is,
or
The
something.
one on like Horizon Lunar Colony. You know, the first
Valk
point
Mercy
where it
pushing
goes
the
towards
soldier
Valkyrie.
back.
And yeah, that does.
That was
kind
a
of
funny
feel
exchange.
Like some of the things that you're talking about, where I know we've all been there, where a Junkrat is sitting on top of the stairs with Horizon. You can't see where he's shooting you from, and you're just kind of getting pelted on the way up. It's not the best of feelings, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really know what to say.
Pretty
about
sure
that besides,
the Transcendence before
we
the
are
dragon.
moving away from 2 CP.
Oh well. Luckily it wasn't a well placed dragon.
Keep the combat moving. I love this area. Like you see where that soldier's sitting up top. Like one of the cool things about this map that I definitely
God, the sound of that
is
soldier rifle is
the
so much
attackers
better,
can actually,
man.
like access that area. Like you can go around where we
Everything's
see
connected up there.
yeah, curly mustache rotating.
Junkrat going for a sneaky flank on the far
and
right.
it's connected.
Oh.
That's something we haven't really seen in a lot of Overwatch maps.
Yeah, we try to.
The dragon looks
very
better, yeah, with the
intentional
lightning
way
and
we
stuff
do
going
flanking
through it.
routes, and we try to make it so that
Sick.
at least one team, like the team, can be aware of people that are coming on a flank.
Okay, so that's as far as they
And
got.
we usually don't try to let you get all the way around behind the defense without having some way of knowing that it's coming or having the offense earning something like that. And we think this one's fair. We've gone back and forth on this a lot. There's been
That
30
corner
different
looks like
variations
you're
of this
always
route,
gonna get bogged
but
in there.
hopefully this one's fair.
Depending on how your game goes. It's
Also,
fair.
this is our first time watching Payload today.
Depending on who
Does
else
the
is in
payload
chat.
just stay here?
I actually have some questions from Twitter.
That's
I know
interesting.
some people have been pulling and just kind of, just really, I think, things that people are interested in. For you guys, what changed to
Hey, it's an Omnic.
character buff or nerf? You
Yeah,
guys
that
are
corner
looking
looks like
forward
it's
to
gonna
that
be
you guys
it's
have,
gonna get stuck
played
there
around
every
implemented
time.
with thus far.
Which I guess you kind of want a foothold
Wow,
at some
I mean that's
point, right?
it's
There's
a
a
great
lot.
question, you know, to ask yesterday, but I think now that we've gone over a lot of what we've been working on, there's so many changes to characters all across the board, including all the big changes to the
I'm
tank
curious
role,
if the
hero
old
passes
payload
that
is
we're
gonna stay
introducing
there.
with all the other roles in the
The
game.
Lamborghini
So,
Aventador
as
with the
well as,
auto
like,
doors on.
some of the work
scissor
that we've
doors.
been doing with like CC abilities in the game, so it's really hard
Yeah,
to pick one of those.
My personal one is actually the one that we saw from BlizzCon Line, was the Reinhardt stuff.
The hill?
As somebody who's
Yeah,
always wanted
maybe,
to play
yeah.
Reinhardt, who's pretty tragic at it, being able to be a little bit more, this is like selfish, being able to be a little bit more brawly and more offensive is the type of Reinhardt play I want on, when I just charge in.
Ryan, at least use the shield. You're walking, huh?
I'm sure that won't
Ryan,
be Overwatch 2 either, but
you have
I can at least
1200
put it in my
shield?
mind that it could be a possibility. Yeah.
That's always the promise of Reinhardt in any version of Overwatch that you're playing, is that moment
I probably would have gone
where
for
you
a
get to
pin
drop
there.
the shield and go
It's a good thing
in
I'm
and
not
just
playing.
start laying waste to people. Feels so good.
Yeah, it's you play Reinhardt and you come out and you feed a few times, you're like, maybe this isn't for me, and then you just land that one shatter, that perfect shatter, and then you're just like, yep. I'm
Did he
in.
cancel the charge or did he hit the
It's
payload?
such
I can tell.
It's such a good ability. Here's another one from Twitter. How do you guys look at maintaining the balance between PvP and PvE? I assume they're kept like completely separate, like different environments. But how do you guys look at that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because
that fire strike almost hit Ash.
Started developing much larger PvE games.
That was a good dynamite. I mean, she didn't shoot it fast enough,
Like
but
Winston is.
it was in a good
fun in
place.
PvP, but a lot of his enjoyment comes from sort of how much you're willing to commit, and there's always like this risk game you're playing. And you're taking space, but are you don't want to be too far ahead of your team.
That Reinhardt said, "Torb, you are dead."
It's hard to translate that to a PvE environment.
I will shatter you.
So that in our early playtests of PvE was sort of like,
Yeah, the double fire
like
strike
we
to
need more, and then
insta-kill a
we started getting
squishy
into,
is
like,
insane.
Okay, well, we really need to talk about if we're going to keep these separate, or are we just making changes to the base hero?
This Reinhardt looks
So,
way
a lot of
more fun to
for
play.
instance, the current Winston alternate fire he has where he could shoot that blast actually came from PvE first. We were just like,
that's
oh, this is a lot more fun, and like, oh,
The charge
to
cancel,
the base kit. Plus, we're doing all the other
the fire
PvP,
strikes.
so we started playing with it in PvP. So in those cases, like if it feels like it works and we're like enjoying playing it, yeah, we'll totally take it. But I think our general philosophy is try to keep them separate, just so we can make sure that they shine really great in both individual game or all the game modes really.
Yeah, and this might be.
I have to mention one thing really quick because it's kind of fun. I did early on. I just had to make this.
Oh,
prototype.
there's an Ash free firing on you.
PvP VE mode, I called it, which was like a hybrid mode. Because I think like I get the expectation that people will probably ask about that pretty quick.
Kind of a useless blizzard.
So I was like, let's just try a mode of it. And it was a little dirty because it was like there wasn't a lot of balancing done. It was just like, oh, let's just throw all the crazy PvE stuff in here and see how they work against players. And it was pretty tragic, but it was pretty interesting. And like, there's maybe a version of that.
Sneaky bastion.
Exactly. There's maybe a version.
Yeah, if you just snuck up the stairs behind the hill,
right now, because it was.
You could literally just crouch
like,
walk
this
up
is
the
fun,
staircase
but, like,
and
man,
just bastion all of a sudden.
This anywhere close to what it would have to be.
Especially if they don't have a barrier
Yeah,
tank
we
or a
do a lot of
roadhog. Like if they're playing
experimentation
Zarya,
like that,
I feel like
which
Bastion
I
could
think
just
is one
kill
of the
2
funnest parts
people
about working on
before
this
they deal with
game.
you.
And I know, like, as they were playing Rome, you know, there was a question of like, hey, are we working on, like, do you work on other game modes? And it is something that we do a lot. Actually, the push map or the push game mode came out of a whole different game mode that we were working on, as we were kind of trying to solve how you would put
That turret at the
a
top of
captured
the hill
flag into like a main version.
Oh, he got
of
2
Overwatch.
hammer
We
kills.
weren't really able to do it, but push kind of came out.
He's
of that.
looking for more.
And we are working on one other one that I'm
Ooh.
really excited about, and hopefully it's something that
Torb
we'll
hit
be
a
able to
dink.
talk to our players in the community about later.
I love that.
Yes.
More ways to play
Yes.
is totally fine with me, and I'm sure the rest of the community. It's
He built a turret on the
something that
payload.
I've actually kind of like found throughout the day, and you know, it's one of the things that's like a little bit.
I feel
newer
like
with the live game. It's like
that
the
was kind of
experimental
bad.
part, and then
He
some
could
of
have
the
just
things you're
kept his
able to
turret
do
up here,
there
but
and try out cool things that look like they've kind of made their way in. I feel like that has been a huge tool for you guys for really just kind of testing out the April Fool stuff. You know, Jeff, I don't know if I can convince you, but give me the Flying Sigma. I don't know how that works in a solo tank, but give me Flying Sigma so I can just battle Pharos and ignore my team. But, a lot of some of that stuff
was
is
an
really
optimistic
interesting that you guys
res.
will try with the experimental.
Yeah, it's been so powerful. I mean, I feel like it's sort of a developer's dream in a sense to be like, because you're always
the
just like,
duffel molten core.
I don't know, maybe this is kind of cool. Could we just like show this to people and get their impressions?
There's just lava
I can't really-
everywhere.
in fact, we've talked about in the past about expanding, maybe even showing more stuff. But you know, like, what if we showed like crazy early level layouts that was just all like gray box stuff? Like, how early can we show before it gets like really ridiculous? Where we're just like, here's a stick man with a gun. Like, is that just like not even worth giving feedback on or what?
Oh, Frosty Feet is on
So
Tracer
it's-
again.
It's been powerful. And
This
we're still
player's
gonna
been
waste
good
this
at every
resource,
character
and,
except Tracer.
It's just another great feedback tool.
The whole stream they've done pretty well, except their Tracer's been kind of tragic.
Ridiculous, but then when like you saw like some of the communities, like, oh, this is kind of cool, and you're just
Although she's not doing horrible here.
we get Sigma's cool to fly for a day or two, but like we can't have that all the time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so we see the blue team kind of approach
Yeah, the
final,
weapon
area.
redesigns.
And then there was one question actually just about the Overwatch dev team. Like, how has it been? You know, working from home. How large has the team gotten over the last few years? I feel like it's really
Playing
grown a lot.
Tracer into Torb is so sad.
The work from home is a bit of a mixed bag, you know. And when we first started, we were really worried about how productive the team would be because it's never something it's something we haven't really done before. And the team is amazing, and they actually like really rallied, and I feel like we are just as productive as we were before, and in some ways we are more productive about certain things, you know. It's definitely, there's parts of it that are harder, you know, like we don't all have home offices, you know, like I just work in my bedroom, you know. I just have to make sure I make my bed every day before I
Oh, Meteor Strike looks so much better.
And then the team, it's really grown.
Sombra on this map. Yeah, there's just infinite high ground she can stand on and hack.
We were around 60 to 70 people, and the team has continued to grow.
No, you're right.
There. And I don't
Sombra on this map's like you'll never find her before she hacks you.
We just keep growing because the game that we're making now, Overwatch 2, it's a much bigger game than the original.
Woo! Guys, she hit the pulse bomb. I mean, she hit it on a meatball, but she hit it.
Hear about Overwatch 2, it was like, oh, cool, like, yeah, like, this is gonna, I want another Overwatch. And then, like, just kind of hearing everything that goes involved with it, with, like, the PvE and,
okay, Frosty Feet has somewhat redeemed themselves on Tracer this map.
The scope of the game is so big.
Their Tracer will look like a throw peg in all the other games that we saw, but
it's really exciting working on something that has that many.
Looks significantly better here. Or maybe they're just playing against Tor and
hopefully what we're
Doomfist.
Showing here today is that
And Diva.
we're able to work
So maybe
on
they're just
something
playing
that's
against a
new,
comp where
and it has all
everything's
these
free, I don't
exciting
know.
elements while still focusing on what like made the original game great. Like we are like, hey, love or hate 5v5, we are committed to like keeping the PvP of Overwatch as competitive as possible, and we are putting so many resources into it.
Yeah, just pushing the game forward. It's like all the heroes that
Wow, are they gonna clutch this? Just
Overwatch
Tracer,
1,
Zen, and
learnings
Ball?
from Overwatch 1 just evolutionize, right?
Nate,
Like pushing the game forward,
no!
coming up with new kind of creative ways to play. So this Transcendence phase.
She got her nade back
Yes.
just in time, but
Reaper did his dance on the cart and
dang,
he was gone.
3 people clutched that out.
So that kind of concludes. I'm sure the.
Okay,
the
one
devs
more
are
thing.
going to-
Give us a hero.
They'll know who won and lost.
Give us a
I
hero
was not
teaser.
keeping score of the matches.
Just like one image of a new hero.
They'll be pretty angry that we didn't keep score of who won and lost, but.
Come on,
just
Aaron.
A really awesome showcase of the PvP side of the game.
This was a
today.
good stream, though.
You guys could just kind of give one lasting message to like everybody out there who's playing Overwatch 1, interested in Overwatch 2 with all these PvP changes today. What would it
Drop
be?
us a one more thing.
I guess I'd say thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for like the support and the communication, like the active communication that has been present from our community ever since, even from before Overwatch came
He
out.
unfocuses his
I'd like to just give a
camera and they're
heartfelt
just
thank
all new
you
heroes.
to everyone that's
That
watching
would be
and been
so
involved in our
good.
communities throughout the years. And I also want to let you know that
That's why his camera is so focused.
we are still listening and we are still taking feedback on this game, and more than anything we just want it to be the best version of itself that it can be, and we're committed to making it that. We come into work every day kind of like passionate and excited to work on this game, whether it's some of the things in hero mode that we're doing for the PvE side of the game, or whether it's the maps or heroes that we're working on for the PvP side of the game.
That's interesting. He called the story mode hero mode.
Thank you for letting us build this game for all of you, because we.
Okay, one more thing.
How about for you, Jeff and Dion?
One more thing.
I pretty much echo what Aaron said. Of course,
One
thanks to
more
community.
thing.
I mean, a lot of this kind of changes, especially all this experimentation and things.
I think my theory about the game coming out sooner in a rougher state is wrong, though.
Hopefully that comes across. Also to mention that obviously I think I've thrown it out a lot already, but this is all like pretty early work in progress still. We're still trying a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I mentioned that isn't even in this. So
them having to redesign everything
so if you like
for
see
5v5
like,
and
I
everything.
see Doomfist running around and smash people against walls, and I can imagine somebody like, oh, Doomfist is still doing his stun combo kill, but like I suspect we'll be making a lot of changes to him, for example, especially if we do CC changes. So it's sort of like the double-edged sword of like being able to show you guys the stuff really early is, some of it's not quite done yet, but I think
WoW
it's
development's
really,
been kind of rolled for
trying
like
to
a
keep
few
the
years now, though, right?
communication up and letting you guys see what we're working on.
It's not a new to work at home
I
thing.
echo the same thing. We have a pretty incredible team working on the game, the character team, world building, QA, production, concepting. It's quite a crew. We love playing the game every day, and we look forward to getting it into players' hands soon.
Yeah, no, No, obviously,
soon
kind of,
TM.
I know we're working with you guys on some of the stuff like this, and then some of the other members of the Overwatch team, like your guys' passion to just make this game the best is
Okay, guys,
something
one
that
more thing.
comes through in every conversation.
Just
So
drop a hero
really excited
name.
to see what you
Not
guys
even a
have,
picture, just a
in
name.
store for
Give
the
us some
future
morsel.
of the game. Aaron, what's next?
A
What
crumb.
can, the community look for? I think you guys have an AMA going on.
Yep, we have one coming up in just a few days. It's going to be on the main Overwatch Reddit.
Oh no, it's
or
ending.
subreddit, sorry. So
Not
tune
one
into
more
that,
thing.
And I think it's the three of us. Don't quote me on that.
He's signing up Dion for it.
One more
If it's not
thing.
you guys, you just got signed up. I'll send the.
Aaron, let me know.
Yes,
we'll send
someone's
the-
going to be there answering questions.
Yeah, we'll send the Outlook invites. We'll get everybody in here counting again.
When the stream ends, I'm gonna need like a 5-minute break before
no,
produce
no,
chat.
Nothing will be needed for that. But
We'll throw
then
on some
we
music
have,
and-
Overwatch League kicking off again.
And I'll need I'll need to take 5, go fill up my water bottles and
Things that
stuff.
we're talking about today here at 11:30 PT. And don't forget, guys, the Overwatch Anniversary event is going on right now in game. Some
One more
really
thing?
awesome skins to earn. You can get that combat.
One more thing?
The new Ana skin. I know by winning games, or you can.
Aaron, what if Aaron
just
just blurts out a hero name and then the stream cuts?
Slower. Thank
No
you guys
context.
so much for everything
believe.
today. Truly a blast. Thank you, Aaron, Jeff, and Dion. That'll be it. from
There's still
us.
time, Aaron.
Follow Play Overwatch on all social media
Aaron.
to stay up with all the latest news for Overwatch 2. We'll see you next time.
Aaron!
Thanks, guys.
Yell a hero name! No! There could still be a stinger at the end, guys. I don't know. I think this is what we're getting. I mean, we got a lot, though. I shouldn't be too greedy, I suppose. We got a 2-hour stream. And we did see a map we hadn't seen any gameplay of. I think obviously the most exciting thing is the 5v5 change, right? Is that like completely changes the game? How, like, what kind of situations the average game will be. Push looks like a really fun game. New female support? I mean, maybe. They don't really seem to have any order in terms of male or female support. But we had Baptiste, right? And then before that was Moira Brigg. So I'm also always like, I'm curious how many new heroes Overwatch 2 will launch with. Like, I hope it's a lot. I would love for there to be like 10 new heroes or something. Because the game, like, really needs new heroes. Yeah, two new tanks, 4 new supports, and 4 new DPS. Be Pog. Since they're doing that. Or maybe 4 new supports, since there's already way more DPS, obviously. Yeah, I don't think we're getting a one more thing. This drop-down shot was sick. Hanzo just absolutely rolled the soldier. But every map that they've shown has a hero associated with it, I think, though? Right? Except that one. Monte Carlo. We don't have a hero for Monte Carlo. So, maybe. Maybe Sojourn? I don't know. Dang. I was really hoping for one more thing, just a slight crumb of hero news, but like I said, the fact that they're redesigning the entire roster basically for 5v5 and they probably have to redesign all of the maps for 5v5, and they probably have to, like, it's gonna be insane. Yes, the new hero to the game, Tracer. Ah, yes. Okay, chat, like I said, I'm gonna need 5, so I'm gonna run to the bathroom, I'll change my stream layout, I'm gonna fill some water bottles, and I will be right back. Thank you everyone who came to hang out, and then we'll hop into produce in about 5 minutes, so... starting soon. We go BRB. What's more accurate? I don't know. I don't know what's more accurate, honestly. Alright.